At 6:17 on the third morning after Walt Bell's funeral, Rosa Alvarez backed her van toward the loading dock and nearly took out the memorial wreath. Marion saw it happen from the market office, one red taillight, then the other, creeping toward the white carnations Claire had wired beside the entrance because the funeral home's easel would not stand on cracked pavement. Marion reached the dock as Rosa climbed out. "I saw it," Rosa said. "I did not hit it. You bent the ribbon." The ribbon was dramatic. It was. Forever in Our Hearts hung crookedly over Walt's photograph, while Rosa's nephew, 32, bearded, and somehow still treated like a distracted teenager by every woman in his family, began unloading trays of green chili enchiladas. Across the lot, another van turned in. Then Eli Foster's pickup. Then Tasha Green's station wagon with a brass floor lamp sticking out the rear window like a spear. Claire came through the market doors holding 2 paper cups and stopped beside her mother. "They're still coming?" Marion took the coffee Claire offered her. Claire watched the vendors unload beneath the graying morning sky. "Mom, this is what I'm talking about. Dad dies, and nobody even misses a Saturday. They're here because he practically let them sell for free. This place is worthless." Marion looked at Rosa, carrying food through the door Walt had unlocked every Saturday for 22 years. She knew why they had come. What she did not know was whether any of them would still come once she asked them to pay what staying would cost. The loading door rattled upward with a metallic shriek. Claire flinched. "That thing is going to kill somebody. It's been going to kill somebody since 2014. That isn't reassuring. It wasn't meant to be." Marion sipped the coffee. It was too sweet, which meant Claire had added sugar without asking. She had been doing that since she arrived from Columbus 4 days earlier, sweetening coffee, answering the house phone, moving pill bottles to more visible places. Grief apparently had turned Marion into a person who could no longer locate aspirin. Claire wore black slacks and one of Walt's old flannel shirts over her blouse. The shirt looked wrong on her, too broad in the shoulders, too soft from years of washing. Marion had nearly told her to take it off that morning, then had noticed Claire rubbing the cuff between her fingers. "You told them we were closed," Claire said. "I told them the market would close through Friday. Most businesses close longer than that when the owner dies. Most businesses don't have Rosa's chicken thawing in a refrigerator. Could you not talk about thawing chicken before I finish my coffee?" Marion started toward the door. Claire followed. Inside, Ashby Market smelled of damp concrete, cinnamon cleaner, and the first pot of coffee Tasha had made in the communal kitchen. The main aisle ran the length of the old brick warehouse beneath strings of bare bulbs Walt had installed during what he called his Edison phase. Some stalls had painted signs and glass cases. Others were folding tables screened with curtains. The empty ones looked like missing teeth. Walt's chair stood near the front entrance, angled toward the parking lot. Somebody had put his blue enamel mug on the seat. Marion stopped. The mug had a white chip near the rim. Walt used to complain that every unattended cup in the building found its way into that mug, including one memorable swallow of paint thinner. Marion had brought it home after the funeral because it was his. She was certain she had. Tasha was arranging silk scarves by color at her stall. Without looking up, she said, "I took it out of your dishwasher. You entered my house. You gave me a key. For emergencies. You weren't answering. I was asleep." "Exactly." Tasha came around the counter. At 61, she dressed like a woman expecting to be photographed during even the least photogenic moments of life. This morning, she wore a mustard-colored turban, red frame glasses, and a black sweater with sleeves too elegant for lifting boxes. She touched Marion's elbow, brief and firm. "I washed it first," she said. "You could have left it at the house." "No, that was all." Claire picked up the mug. "Mom shouldn't be here either." Tasha turned to her. "Good morning, Claire." "Good morning. Funeral was beautiful." "Thank you. Your father would have hated the music." Claire's mouth twitched despite herself. "He picked it. That doesn't mean he had taste." A laugh escaped Marion before she could prepare for it. The sound hurt. It seemed to pull against something stitched beneath her ribs. Tasha heard the change in it and looked away first. "I'll put the mug in the office." "Leave it," Marion said. Claire set it back on the chair. By 7, the market had awakened around them. Metal tables snapped open. Rosa argued with an electrical outlet. Eli stacked jars of honey in a pyramid until Marion told him nobody needed to die under preserves. At the far end, Calvin Pike rolled up the canvas covering his refurbished furniture and discovered that a leak had left a dark circle on the top of a maple dresser. He stared at the ceiling, then at Marion. "Don't," she said. "I didn't say anything. Your face did. My face said, there's water on a $200 dresser. Your face said, Walt promised to fix that leak." Calvin wiped the dresser with the tail of his shirt. Well, he did. The words settled badly between them. Calvin was the first to look ashamed. "Miss Marion, I didn't mean, I know what you meant." Walt had promised to fix most things at Ashby Market. The loading door, the roof over Calvin's stall, the loose tile by the kitchen, the heater in the east wing that groaned all winter and produced only the smell of burning dust. His promises had been so confidently delivered that people often mistook them for repairs. Marion fetched an old card table from storage and helped Calvin move the dresser away from the drip. Her shoulder complained when they lifted. Calvin noticed. "I got it. I'm holding my end. Your end's heavier. It's the same dresser, not emotionally." She gave him a look, and he grinned. Calvin could talk himself out of a locked trunk. It was one reason customers bought tables from him that would not fit through their doors. Claire stood at the end of the aisle, watching Marion work. When Calvin left to find towels, Claire said, "This is exactly what I mean." "What is?" "You shouldn't be moving furniture 3 days after burying your husband." "I didn't bury him by myself." "That's not funny. It wasn't a joke." Claire took the wet towels from Marion's hands. "There are people whose job it is to handle this. At Ashby Market, I'm people. You're 69. You say that like I woke up surprised. I say it like you have arthritis and a roof leak. Walt had the arthritis. I have a bad shoulder. Great. You're practically an athlete." Marion almost smiled, but Claire's eyes were wet. Claire turned away and slapped the towels onto the dresser with more force than drying required. For a few minutes they worked without speaking. Marion remembered Claire at 32. Standing in the driveway of the little duplex she had rented after separating from her husband. Her belongings had been packed in grocery store boxes. Marion and Walt had promised to arrive at 9. At 9:15, a freezer compressor at the market burned out. By the time they reached Claire, it was nearly noon, and 2 of her friends had already moved the bed. Claire had said it was fine. Claire always said things were fine in a tone that made them permanent. "Mom," her voice softened now, "come home with me after closing. We'll finish sorting Dad's clothes. I don't want to sort his clothes. We don't have to give anything away yet. I don't want to move his shirts from one side of a closet to the other, so we can call it progress." Claire folded the towel into a small, exact square. "Then, what do you want to do?" "Open the doors at 8. The market opened at 8. For the first 20 minutes, almost nobody came. Vendors adjusted displays that did not need adjusting and drank coffee they did not want. The quiet magnified every sound. Rosa closing refrigerator doors, Eli tapping jar lids, rain beginning against the high windows. At 8:23, Mr. Dempsey came in for 2 jars of honey and complained that Eli had moved them 4 feet to the left. At 8:30, 3 women arrived in matching raincoats and spent $40 at Tasha's stall. A restaurant owner collected boxes of onions from a farmer who used the market as his Saturday pickup point. Then the rain let up, and customers began arriving in clumps. Some stopped Marion to squeeze her hands. Some told stories she had heard at the visitation. Some lowered their voices and asked what would happen now. "We're open," she told them. It was not an answer, but they accepted it. Near noon, Marion found Claire behind the office desk with Walt's adding machine, 2 ledgers, and a stack of envelopes. "You said you were getting lunch. I found this looking for the insurance policy." Claire held up a bank statement. Marion closed the office door. Through the glass, she could see the market moving beyond them, people passing, Rosa waving a wooden spoon, Tasha holding a green jacket against a customer's shoulders. "What were you doing in his bottom drawer?" Marion asked. "Looking for the insurance policy. It's in the file cabinet under building." It wasn't. Then it's under taxes. It wasn't there either. Walt had a system. Dad had piles. They were organized piles. Claire slid the statement across the desk. Marion did not pick it up. "There are transfers from your retirement account," Claire said. "I can see that." "You haven't looked at it. I can see the line through the paper. 10,000 in November, 8 in January, another 6 last month." Marion sat in Walt's desk chair. The cushion exhaled beneath her. Outside, somebody laughed. The sound came through the wall, flattened and far away. Claire opened the older ledger. Stall income doesn't cover the mortgage, utilities, insurance, and repairs. It doesn't even get close during winter. There were heating problems. There are always heating problems. Walt said January was unusually slow. He knew you'd believe him. Marion looked up. Claire's face changed at once. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I'm sorry I said it that way. That's different. Claire pressed her palms to the desk. He was taking money you need to live on and putting it into a building that needs more money than either of you had. We had. You have, Claire corrected. You're the one who has to live now. A shadow crossed the office glass. Eli opened the door without knocking and stuck his head in. Marion, the breaker went again. Which one? Kitchen outlets. Rosa plugged in the soup kettle. It is not the soup kettle, Rosa shouted from somewhere behind him. This building was wired by Benjamin Franklin. I'll be there, Marion said. Eli hesitated. His gaze dropped to the bank statement and then lifted politely away. No hurry. There's always a hurry when Rosa has a hot appliance. That is also not the appliance, Rosa called. Eli withdrew, leaving the door open. Claire stared into the market. They know, don't they? Know what? That Dad was carrying them. Marion rose too quickly and steadied herself against the desk before Claire could reach for her. Don't, she said. Claire stopped. Don't turn every hand I've held into evidence that somebody took advantage of me. I'm not. You are. You think because I love this place, I couldn't see it. Could you? The question landed harder because Claire asked it quietly. Marion looked past her at Walt's empty chair near the entrance. His blue mug still rested on the seat. Customers walked around it without touching it, leaving a small, respectful gap in the flow of the aisle. She had known why the vendors returned. She had known every debt of gratitude, every favor repaid sideways, every private reason a person might need one more Saturday. But Walt's bank statement lay on the desk behind her, and for the first time, she wondered how much the market's loyalty had depended on two old people being willing to lose money in silence. Claire folded her arms. Come back to Columbus with me tomorrow, just for a week. We'll call the storage company Monday. No. Mom. We'll call a meeting Monday. With the buyer, with the vendors, and tell them what? Marion watched Rosa march toward the breaker box, carrying a wooden spoon like a weapon. The truth, she said. The truth turned out to be difficult to fit on one legal pad. By closing time, Marion had written down the numbers Claire read from the ledgers. She did it in her own handwriting because figures spoken by Claire sounded like accusations, while figures written in blue ink were merely figures. The market had taken in less than it spent for 8 of the previous 12 months. Walt had transferred $24,000 from their retirement account since November. 3 vendors were more than 2 months behind on rent. 5 others were paying rates that had not changed since the year Claire got divorced. The insurance premium was due in 19 days. The roof estimate Marion found under a takeout menu was 14 months old and high enough to make her laugh once without humor. Why would he put this under Golden Dragon? Claire asked. He liked their pork dumplings. That doesn't explain anything. It explains why he opened that drawer. Claire closed the ledger. You can't fix this with a meeting. Then the meeting will be short. Mom, please don't turn being stubborn into a personality. It's been my personality longer than you've been alive. That was almost a joke. It was entirely a joke. Neither of them smiled. Outside the office, vendors packed their unsold goods. Table legs folded. Tarps snapped. Calvin and Eli lowered the loading door together, the chain jerking in Eli's hands as the door hit the concrete with its usual ugly bang. Marion turned the office lock and put Walt's blue mug inside the bottom drawer. Claire noticed. She noticed everything Marion wished she would not. At home, Walt's boots were still beside the kitchen door, toes pointed toward the wall. Claire had straightened them after the funeral, and Marion had kicked one slightly crooked again. Walt never left them aligned. A perfectly arranged pair looked as if someone had staged his absence. Claire heated soup from Rosa's stall. Marion claimed she was not hungry, then ate 2 bowls while standing at the counter. Sit down, Claire said. I'm capable of eating upright. I know. You've proved it. Marion carried her bowl to the table. The kitchen was quiet without Walt's radio. He listened to a call-in program where men with confident voices misunderstood municipal issues. Most evenings he argued with them while washing dishes. Once, after shouting at the radio for 15 minutes, he discovered the station was replaying a broadcast from the previous week. Claire opened her laptop. No, I haven't done anything. You opened it with intent. I want to see what the building might be worth. You already contacted somebody. I requested information. That isn't a crime, neither is chewing with your mouth open. It can still make people dislike you. Claire shut the laptop more gently than the gesture deserved. I don't want your money. Marion looked at her. I know what you think. Do you? You think I'm trying to sell the market so I can get my hands on the proceeds? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You got that flat little line between your eyebrows. I have wrinkles, Claire. They aren't all about you. Claire got up and carried both bowls to the sink. She rinsed them too thoroughly. I have my own money, she said. I have a house. I have work. I'm not waiting around for an inheritance. I never thought you were. I'm trying to keep you from spending the rest of your savings so Calvin can sell refinished dressers under a roof that rains indoors. That's one way to describe it. What's the other? Marion looked toward the boots by the door. Not tonight. Claire's shoulders fell. For 1 second she looked younger, not in the face but in the way she held herself, as if she had been sent away from a room without knowing what rules she had broken. Then she dried her hands and said, I put clean sheets on the guest bed. You're sleeping there? Unless you want me to drive to Columbus at 9 o'clock. I thought you might stay at the market. Everybody else does. Claire laughed despite herself. It was brief, but it softened the kitchen. Marion went upstairs before Claire could open the laptop again. Walt's side of the bedroom smelled faintly of the ointment he rubbed into his knees. His watch lay on the dresser beside $14 in folded bills and a peppermint covered in lint. Marion sat on the edge of the bed and tried to picture him moving money from their retirement account. She could see his hands on the keyboard, two-finger typing, tongue pressed against his upper lip. She could hear him explaining it if she had caught him. Temporary, Mayor. Just until spring. People need a place to land. Walt had believed spring could solve things that accounting could not. She opened his closet. Flannel shirts leaned together on wire hangers. Claire wanted to sort them, which meant making piles labeled keep, donate, and discard. Marion could not imagine which label belonged on a shirt that still held the shape of his shoulders. She reached into the pocket of his brown work jacket. A peppermint wrapper crackled beneath her fingers. Nothing else. Did you know? She asked the empty shirt. The house answered with the furnace turning on. By Sunday morning, Claire had already made coffee and arranged the market records across the dining table. She had found the insurance policy. It had been under taxes, exactly where Marion said it would be, but Claire did not mention that. Marion came in wearing her robe. You moved his boots again. I tripped over one. You survived. Barely. Claire poured coffee into Marion's cup and held the sugar bowl in the air. One, Marion said. You take two. I took two when your father was alive. I'm making changes. Claire put in 1 spoonful. Should I be worried that this is your first reform? They worked through the morning. Claire was good with numbers. Not Walt's kind of good, which involved rounding everything toward hope, but patient and exact. She built columns, separated one-time expenses from monthly costs, and found that the east wing consumed nearly as much heat as the occupied part of the building. Close it for winter, she said. That's 12 stalls. 7 are empty, 5 aren't. Move them. Eli needs the loading access. Calvin needs floor space. Arthur won't sell records under the kitchen vents because he says steam warps vinyl, does it? I have no idea. He believes it with religious intensity. Claire wrote East Wing and circled it. Marion examined the rent list. Some names had check marks. Some had Walt's small handwritten arrows directing 1 month's balance into the next. Beside Rose's name, he had drawn a smiling pepper. He made the books impossible on purpose, Claire said. No, he made them friendly. Friendly books are impossible books. By noon, they had determined the market needed an additional $3,800 a month before any major repair. Marion stared at the number until it lost meaning. Claire turned the laptop around. This is what I've been trying to tell you. On the screen was a photograph of a storage facility outside Cincinnati. Clean beige buildings, red roll-up doors, ornamental grasses bordering fresh asphalt. What am I looking at? What the property could become. It looks like a prison for lamps. It's stable income. For who? The buyer. Then I'm very happy for them. Claire shut her eyes. I am not your enemy. I know. Do you? I know you want me safe. Then why do you say it like an insult? Because Claire's idea of safety had no room in it for Marion's usefulness. Because it contained a small condo with beige carpet, lunch at restaurants Marion would find too loud, and a guest room where Claire could check whether her mother had taken her pills. Marion did not say any of that. Instead, she asked, "Did we do that to you?" Claire's expression sharpened. Do what? Decide what was best, then call it love so you couldn't object. For once, Claire had no answer prepared. The silence held until her phone buzzed against the table. She glanced at the screen and turned it face down. Work? Marion asked. An appraiser. You called one. I told you I was going to. No. You told me you wanted to. I'm trying to give you options. An option you arrange without me is a plan. Claire stood. Fine, I'll cancel. Marion's first instinct was to tell her to do it. Instead, she ran a finger down the column of unpaid rents. No, she said. Let him come. Claire studied her face as if looking for a trap. Thursday afternoon. You already scheduled it? I can cancel. You just said that. I don't know which version of you I'm talking to. The one who wants facts. Claire sat again slowly. Okay. But nobody discusses emptying the building. I never said. Nobody tells the vendors we're closing, selling, considering closing, or likely to sell. They hear about the appraisal from me. Claire's jaw tightened. All right. And Monday's meeting comes first. At 6 Monday evening, 34 folding chairs faced the office. 29 were occupied. Some vendors came straight from other jobs wearing medical scrubs, work boots, or restaurant aprons. Rosa brought a foil pan of enchiladas because she considered any gathering without food evidence of poor breeding. Eli passed out paper plates. Tasha sat in front with her legs crossed and a yellow notebook balanced on one knee. Claire stood at the back beside the locked entrance. Marion had expected talking to stop when she stepped forward. It did not. Calvin was telling Arthur that his record smelled like a basement. Arthur said that was how authenticity smelled. Marion tapped a spoon against Walt's blue mug. The room went silent. She had retrieved the mug from the office drawer 10 minutes earlier. Now she held it by the handle, aware of the white chip near the rim, and Claire's eyes fixed on it from the back wall. Most of you know Walt put our own money into the market this winter, Marion began. Several people looked down. Rosa did not. He told me. A small, hot surprise moved through Marion. When? In February. I asked if he could wait on half my rent. He said waiting was already costing him. He told me too, Calvin said. Then Eli raised one hand. I knew he'd taken some from savings. I didn't know how much. Marion looked from face to face. They had known enough to know there was a problem. They had accepted extensions, low rates, heat, light, and a roof that failed by inches. They had brought casseroles after Walt died. They had put his mug on his chair. And some had watched him spend himself thin without telling her. Tasha's pen rested motionless over her notebook. Marion set the mug on the table. We are $3,800 short each month before roof repairs, she said. Walt covered part of that from our retirement. He will not be doing it again. Nobody laughed. Calvin shifted in his chair. What does that mean? It means the market has 90 days to prove it can support itself. And if it can't? Arthur asked. Claire's presence seemed to grow at the back of the room. Marion met Arthur's gaze. Then I sell. The room erupted. She let them speak for 12 seconds, then struck the mug again. And if you want a voice in what happens, she said, you are going to start by listening to what this place actually costs. Arthur raised his hand as if Marion had invited questions instead of panic. Sell to who? She didn't say she's selling, Claire said from the back. Arthur twisted in his chair. She said, Then I sell. I heard the sentence. Arthur, Marion said, face forward. He did, though not without the injured dignity of a man denied cross-examination. Calvin leaned his elbows on his knees. 90 days from when? Today. That puts us in August. You've correctly identified the third month. A few people laughed. Calvin did not. So, what happens in August? He asked. We look at the numbers. We? Marion glanced at Tasha. The yellow notebook remained open on her knee, but she had not written anything. I haven't decided who we is yet. That seems relevant, Rosa said. It is. A voice came from the third row. Are you raising rent? Marion recognized it as Lenny Webb's before she found him in the crowd. Lenny had sold produce at Ashby Market for 17 years and conducted every conversation as if someone had just tried to cheat him out of a tomato. He was 58, broad through the chest, with a permanent red patch above his collar where the sun found him. "Yes," Marion said. "How much?" "I'll have individual numbers by Wednesday." "Why individual?" "Because your stall uses 4 times the floor space Arthur's does, 2 refrigerators, and the loading dock." Arthur sat taller. "My records are compact." "Your records spread every Saturday," Lenny said. "They reproduce." "Enough," Marion said. Lenny crossed his arms. "Walt said he wouldn't raise me this year." Walt said many things he could no longer afford. The room went still in a different way. Marion had meant to sound practical. Instead, the words seemed to slap at a dead man nobody was ready to criticize, except Claire. She felt Claire watching from behind the rose. Lenny looked toward Walt's mug. He kept his word. "With our retirement money." "You think I knew that?" "Did you?" His face darkened. "I knew he was having a tight winter. We all were." "Then we are going to stop discussing this as if the building had a tight winter all by itself." Rosa lifted her paper plate. "These enchiladas are getting cold while everybody says tight winter." No one moved. She sighed and passed the plate to Eli. "At least eat while you argue." The foil pan traveled down the row. The ordinary motion helped. Chairs scraped. Napkins rustled. Someone asked for hot sauce and received 3 offended answers at once. Marion handed Claire copies of the expense sheet. Claire distributed them without comment. The pages showed the mortgage, electricity, gas, insurance, trash collection, maintenance, and average monthly income. Marion had left out nobody's balance and named nobody who owed one. Still, people began doing private arithmetic. "This power bill can't be right," Eli said. "It is," Claire answered. "Who verified it?" "I did." He frowned at the page. "No disrespect, Claire. None taken." "You don't work here." "No," she said. "I understand utility bills from a safe distance." That got a better laugh. Tasha finally wrote something. "What is included in 3,800? Current expenses and a small maintenance reserve," Marion said. "Not the full roof. So even if we close the gap, the building still leaks." "Yes." "What are you asking from us tonight?" "Nothing tonight except that you look at the facts." Tasha tapped her pen against the notebook. "Facts are nice. A proposal would be nicer. You'll have one Wednesday, and if people don't agree, then I'll know the market cannot support itself." Lenny stood. "Meaning you'll sell it out from under us." "I own it, Lenny. Walt never talked like that. Walt didn't tell me he took $24,000 from our savings." Lenny's chair snapped upright behind him. "So, now we're all supposed to pay because you two didn't talk?" The air left the room. Marion saw Rosa lower her plate. Eli closed his eyes. Even Arthur, who usually welcomed a fresh grievance, stared at Lenny as if he had overturned the food. Claire pushed away from the wall. Marion stopped her with one raised hand. Lenny's anger faded as quickly as it had risen. "I didn't mean it that way." "How did you mean it?" He rubbed a palm over the red skin at his neck. "I mean, this isn't only your life that got turned over." "No," Marion said. "It isn't." She let him stand there. Lenny had driven Walt to a specialist appointment when Marion had the flu. He had brought vegetables to their house every Christmas and complained if she thanked him. He had also been paying $200 less each month than his stall cost to operate. Both things were true. Marion was beginning to dislike how often grief required room for 2 truths. "Sit down," she said. He sat. "The market opens Saturday," she continued. "The appraisal is Thursday afternoon. I will receive information about the value of the property. That does not mean I have agreed to sell." Several heads turned toward Claire. Claire's chin lifted slightly the way it had when she was waiting for Marion to blame her. Marion did not. "If anybody hears something about Ashby Market," Marion said, "you come to me before you repeat it. If anybody wants to leave, you tell me before you tell customers. Rumors can empty a building faster than a fire." Arthur raised his hand again. "What? Is that from experience?" "No, Arthur. It's a sentence I invented." By the end, nobody was satisfied. Marion counted that as more honest than reassurance. They stacked chairs and wrapped the remaining enchiladas. Lenny left without speaking to her. Rosa kissed Marion's cheek, then warned that a 20% rent increase would kill her business. Calvin said he supported whatever Marion decided, which meant he hoped she would not ask him anything specific. Tasha stayed seated until only Claire and Eli remained. "What?" Marion asked her. "You're going to calculate rent by square footage. That's part of it. Utilities? Yes. Traffic? What about it? My corner gets half of Rosa's traffic and more rain. You have windows. I have condensation." Claire carried a stack of chairs toward storage. "This is going well." Tasha ignored her. "You can't make every stall equal by charging them differently. I'm not trying to make them equal. I'm trying to stop losing money. Then say that in the letters. Don't wrap the increase in language about community. I wasn't planning to. You always do." Marion stiffened. Tasha closed her notebook. "You make hard things sound like favors. Walt made favors sound like business. That's how you ended up here." Eli found a sudden reason to inspect the coffee maker. "You have suggestions?" Marion asked. "Yes. Show everybody what their stall actually costs. Charge that. If you choose to help someone, write it down as your choice instead of pretending the money wandered off. That sounds very clean. It won't be." Tasha tucked the notebook under her arm and kissed Marion's temple. "I'll see you Saturday." After she left, Claire said, "I like her. She has that effect on people she isn't correcting. I'm serious. She should be involved. She sells used coats. She was a department store buyer for 26 years. Marion knew that. She also knew Tasha had quit after being passed over for a regional position by a man she trained, then claimed she left because corporate lighting made her look dead. Tasha did not enjoy being treated as someone's available competence. "She'll get involved if she wants to," Marion said. "That isn't management. No. It's knowing Tasha." The next 2 days disappeared into numbers. Marion measured stalls with a tape that retracted whenever she bent down. She counted outlets, refrigerators, sinks, storage racks, and access points. Calvin tried to argue that the aisle occupied by his furniture was public space. Marion pointed out that the public could not use it without climbing over a dining set. Rosa followed her around with coffee and objections. "My refrigerator is efficient. It hums loud enough to vote. It is old, not wasteful. So am I. We'll both be evaluated." At Lenny's produce stall, Marion measured 24 feet along the aisle. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I do. I know how big it is. I need my own number." He watched her stretch the tape beneath bins of sweet potatoes. "There's a place opening near Fairview." Marion kept her eyes on the measurement. "I heard. They've got paved parking. How modern. Roof was replaced last year. Sounds luxurious. I'm not threatening you. Then you're giving me a travel recommendation." Lenny crouched and held the end of the tape where it had slipped. For a moment they worked together without looking at each other. "Walt gave me this stall when nobody wanted the dockside," he said. "I remember. $600 a month. Everybody thought he was crazy. It was $400. Lenny frowned. "No, it wasn't. It was 4. He raised you to 6 after the expansion. That was 15 years ago. 17. He released the tape. Marion stood, her shoulder pinching. "Your refrigerators alone average $180 a month in electricity. I bring people in. They buy my produce, then they walk the aisle. I know. You raise me too high, they lose more than vegetables. I know that too." Lenny picked up a bruised peach and pressed his thumb into the soft spot. "Do you?" Marion retracted the tape. Wednesday. The letters took until nearly midnight. Claire printed them at the dining table. Each listed the stall's current rent, estimated operating cost, proposed rent, and past due balance. The increases ranged from $60 to $420. Marion read every page twice. "You're still short," Claire said. "By $700 a month if everyone stays." "They won't." "I know. You could charge Lenny more. I could." Then he leaves, foot traffic drops, and 3 others leave after him. "So this only works if everybody behaves exactly the way you need. Most things do." Claire rubbed her eyes. "That is not comforting." Marion signed the last letter. Thursday's appraiser arrived in a pressed blue shirt and shoes unsuited to the loading dock. His name was Philip Dean, and he carried a tablet that made every crack look official. Claire met him in the parking lot. Marion watched from the office as her daughter pointed out the road frontage, the lot depth, and the neighboring commercial properties. Claire looked competent and composed, as if the market were already an asset on one of her spreadsheets. Then Philip photographed the bent memorial wreath. Marion went outside. That isn't part of the property, she said. He lowered the tablet. I'm documenting the entrance. Document around it. Claire looked embarrassed. Mom, he needs exterior photos. He doesn't need Walt. Philip cleared his throat and aimed the camera toward the roofline. By Saturday morning, every proposed rent letter waited in its vendor's stall. Lenny found his before 7. He read it once, folded it into thirds, and walked straight to the office. $420 more. He laid the letter on Walt's desk. I spoke to Fairview, he said. Marion kept her hands flat on the blotter. They'll give me 2 months free if I move next weekend. Is that what you want? No. He looked through the glass at his stacked crates. The hand-painted sign Walt had helped him hang, the aisle still empty of customers. But it's what I can afford. Then he pulled his stall key from the ring in his pocket and set it beside the letter. Marion looked at the key but did not touch it. You need to sell today, she said. I'll finish the weekend. Then keep your key until Sunday. I wanted you to know. You told me Fairview was interested. I didn't tell you I'd signed. You signed before you got my letter? Lenny glanced toward the office glass. Outside, Denise Webb was lining peaches in slanted wooden trays. She had worked beside her husband for 11 years and possessed the rare ability to silence him by lifting one eyebrow. Yesterday afternoon, Lenny said. So, this isn't about $420. It's not only about that. Then why put the letter on my desk like I pushed you out? His jaw moved. Marion waited. Fairview gave me a 3-year rate, he said. Roof's good. Parking's good. They advertise. I know what my costs are going to be. And you think they won't raise fees? I read the contract. Did Denise? That earned Marion a flash of his old irritation. Yes, Denise read it. Then I'm sure she found the parts you missed. She did. Despite herself, Marion almost smiled. Lenny did not. I can't do 90 days, Marion. The words took the fight out of the room. She had thought of the deadline as time she was giving herself, but every vendor had heard it as a countdown above their own head. Lenny bought produce days before selling it. He reserved greenhouse crops months ahead. He had employees on Saturdays, insurance on 2 trucks, and a warehouse lease Marion had never considered because it did not happen inside Ashby Market. I need to know where I'm unloading in August, he said. I understand. No, you don't. You think I'm abandoning Walt. I didn't say that. You've got your face. My face is busy this week. He looked down at the key. He came to see me after my first place went under. I was selling cantaloupes out of a parking lot with no shade. He said Ashby needed a produce man. I told him I didn't have enough inventory. He told me to make the tables look full by putting boxes underneath the cloth. He stole that trick from me. I know, you told me every year, because he took credit every year. Lenny rubbed his thumb over the key's brass head. I would have stayed if I knew you were staying. Marion heard what he meant. If she had promised to spend whatever was necessary, work however long it took, and risk whatever remained, he might have trusted the building another season. She slid the key back toward him. Sell your peaches. He pocketed it. At 9, the first customer asked Lenny whether the market was closing. By 10, 5 more had asked Marion. At 11:30, a woman buying pickles from Rosa said she had heard the whole property was becoming storage units. Rosa denied it so fiercely that the woman left without the pickles. Marion found Claire near the kitchen carrying 2 coffees. Did you tell the appraiser who the buyer was? Claire's expression tightened. I told him why we needed the valuation. Did he tell somebody else? Appraisers don't announce private assignments to vegetable shoppers. Somebody did. Claire held out a cup. 1 sugar. Marion took it. You remembered. I'm capable of growth. Across the aisle, Lenny shook hands with a customer and pointed to a printed card on his counter. Fairview. Market new location. Next Saturday, Claire read it from where they stood. There's your somebody, she said. The cards moved through the building faster than smallpox. By afternoon, Arthur had changed his stall sign to Ashby Records, still here, which caused customers to ask how long still meant. Calvin offered free local delivery on any furniture purchased before whatever happens happens. Marion made him take the wording down. It creates urgency, he argued. It creates a fire sale. It's not a fire sale unless there's fire. Give Rosa another extension cord and we may have one, Rosa shouted from her stall. I heard that. 2 vendors asked Marion for reduced increases because Lenny's departure would hurt traffic. A third, Janice Cole, who sold soaps and lotions near his stall, said Fairview had offered her a smaller space and wanted an answer by Monday. "What did you tell them?" Marion asked. "That I had to talk to you. Do you want to go?" Janice turned a lavender soap bar in her hands. "I want not to be stupid." It was an honest answer, and Marion had none to match it. At closing, Denise wrapped the remaining produce while Lenny removed the hand-painted sign above his stall. Walt had made it from a board salvaged during the market's renovation. Webb's Produce curved across it in green letters, with a tomato at each end that looked more like a pair of red moons. The screws had rusted. Calvin brought a drill, then Eli brought another drill because he disliked Calvin's. They argued about torque while Lenny held the sign over his head. Marion watched from the office doorway. Tasha came beside her. "Go help. He has enough help." "I don't mean with the screws." Marion went back into the office. Tasha followed. "Subtle," Marion said. "I was aiming for clear. I spoke to him this morning. Did you tell him you'll miss him? He knows. People know many things they need to hear." Marion sat at the desk and opened the cash report. "He signed with Fairview before he received the increase. Then this is easier. You can be hurt without pretending you caused it. I'm not pretending anything." Tasha placed a folded rent letter on the desk. Her increase was $130. "You were right about my window," Marion said. "I adjusted for the condensation. I feel seen. Can you afford it?" "Yes." "Then sign the agreement." "I'm not signing yet." Marion looked up. Tasha removed her glasses and cleaned them on the hem of her sweater. "You asked us to accept new rents because the market needs to support itself." "Fair. But we still don't know what we're supporting. A market, which might be sold in 90 days. I can't promise it won't be. I'm not asking for a promise. I'm asking what happens if we meet the number. Do we go back to being tenants while you and Claire decide the future in this office?" "Claire does not decide the future." From behind the half-open door, Claire said, "I can hear both of you." Tasha put her glasses on. "Good. Saves time." Claire entered and set a printed email beside Marion's cash report. Philip Dean expected to deliver the appraisal early the following week. The storage company also wanted permission to conduct an environmental inspection and building walkthrough. "No," Marion said. "I didn't agree," Claire replied. "Why are they contacting you?" "Because I made the original inquiry." "There should be no original inquiry. We have been over this." "Then why am I annoyed again?" "Because repetition is one of our family traditions." Tasha's gaze moved between them. "I'm going home." "You started this," Marion said. "I asked a question." "I didn't request dinner theater." Claire picked up Tasha's unsigned agreement. "What do you need in order to sign?" "Not you," Marion said. "I'm asking." Tasha considered Claire. "I need to know the next 90 days aren't a test Marion designed alone and grades alone. It's her property." "Yes. And if all she wants is rent, she can demand rent. If she wants us to help rescue the place, we need some say in how." "Rescue," Marion repeated. Tasha did not soften it. "Rescue." Outside, the drill finally caught. The first screw shrieked loose. Claire leaned against the filing cabinet. "A vendor committee." Tasha made a face. "That sounds like people discussing napkin colors. A temporary operating group then. Review expenses, propose events, recruit stalls." Marion closed the cash report. "You two seem to have this arranged." "I met her 4 days ago," Claire said, "and yet you're already giving away my office." "No one wants your office," Tasha said. "It smells like Walt's cigars, and he stopped smoking in 2009. He kept them in the drawer." "Why?" "He liked knowing they were there." Tasha's expression flickered. She glanced at the bottom drawer where Marion had first hidden the mug. Outside, applause broke out as the sign came free. Lenny lowered it carefully. Denise brushed sawdust from its green letters. Marion stood before anyone could tell her to. She crossed the aisle and took one end of the sign from Lenny. Together they carried it to his truck. The wood was heavier than she expected. Or perhaps her shoulder was worse than she admitted. At the tailgate, Lenny said, "I can take it." "I know." They slid the sign inside between empty crates. Marion ran a finger over one badly painted tomato. "He thought these were excellent. He said people knew what they were. People know what a stoplight is. Doesn't make it a tomato." Lenny laughed. Then his face folded in on itself so suddenly that Marion looked away. Denise came over and put a hand between his shoulders. "I'm angry with you," Marion said. "I know. And I'll miss you." He nodded. "I should have said that this morning." "Probably." She looked at him sharply. He wiped his face with his sleeve. Sorry. Thought honesty was the new rule. Marian hugged him before she could decide not to. He smelled of rain, cardboard, and the green stems of tomatoes. For 17 years, she had seen him nearly every Saturday. The body kept count of such things, even when the books did not. When she stepped back, Denise hugged her too. We're only 12 minutes away, Denise said. That's what people say before you never see them again. Then come buy produce. I expect a discount. You're the reason we're moving, Lenny said. Full price. On Sunday afternoon, Marian returned to the market alone. Without vendors or customers, the empty produce stall widened the whole east end. Pale rectangles marked the floor where Lenny's tables had stood. One rusted screw remained in the wall above them. Janice's lavender soap still scented the next stall, but a row of boxes sat open on her table. Marian walked through the aisles counting occupied spaces. 31, if Janice stayed. 30, if she left. The numbers followed her into the office. Claire had left the proposed vendor agreements in a folder marked pending. Tasha's unsigned copy lay on top. Beside it was a note in red frame glasses handwriting. You do not need 31 people to agree with you. You need enough people willing to disagree in the same room. Marian read it twice, then called Tasha. This is not a committee, she said when Tasha answered. Hello to you too. 3 people, temporary. They review operations, they make proposals. I retain final decisions. 4 people. 3. Rosa will refuse if she thinks she's been excluded, and Eli understands the building. You, Rosa, Eli, and who? You. That's 4. I was counting people willing to disagree with you. Marian looked through the office glass at the empty produce stall. Tuesday, she said. 6 o'clock. Bring food. I'm not feeding people at a business meeting. You have learned nothing. Tasha hung up. Marian placed the phone down and opened the expense ledger. Before she could reconsider, she wrote 4 names on a blank page. Underneath them, she wrote one question. What would make staying worth the risk? Rosa brought a pan of rice, a roasted chicken, 6 paper plates, and no apology. This is 4 people's food? Marian asked. It is 6 people's food. There are 4 people. Claire is in the office and you always pretend you are not hungry until everybody has eaten. Tasha arrived with her yellow notebook. Eli brought a toolbox, although nobody had asked him to repair anything. Marian had set up a square table in the center aisle because using rows of chairs felt too much like the first meeting, and using Walt's office felt too much like Walt. Claire remained behind the glass, working on her laptop. She should be here, Tasha said. She isn't a vendor. She did the numbers. She can present them. And then, she can go home. Claire looked up through the glass, as if Marian's voice carried better than it did. Rosa began cutting the chicken. You two communicate like divorced people who still share a dog. We don't have a dog, Marian said. This is why metaphor is wasted on you. Eli opened the toolbox. What are you doing? Marian asked. Table wobbles. It's a folding table. It can wobble and fold. He crouched beneath it and twisted one leg while the women held their plates out of the way. Tasha wrote something. Are you taking minutes already? Marian asked. I wrote, Eli fixes table during meal. It establishes character. This is not a social club. No, Rosa said. Social clubs have comfortable chairs. Claire came out carrying a thin report. The appraisal arrived. The table stopped wobbling. Marian put down her fork. Philip Dean had valued the building and land at $640,000 as they stood. The figure seemed enormous until Claire placed it beside the mortgage balance, selling costs, taxes, the money Walt had removed from retirement, and the cost of moving Marian somewhere else. It was enough to make her life easier. It was not enough to make the rest of her life someone else's problem. Tasha read the first page. This is based partly on warehouse sales. And light industrial, Claire said. We are neither. It's about the property's highest practical use. Rosa frowned. Its highest practical use is as a market. Financially practical. The other kind of practical. Eli turned to the photographs of the roof. He missed the flashing over the east parapet. Claire looked at him. Does that raise the value? No, just makes me dislike him. Marian took the report and closed it. The building is worth something. Now we know. The storage company's interest was in this range, Claire said. Interest is not an offer. They asked again about a walkthrough, and I said no. Tasha set her pen across the notebook. If the market reaches the number, what does that buy us? Continued operation? For how long? Marion had expected rent proposals, not a demand for time. We're discussing 90 days. We're being asked to increase rent, put money into repairs, recruit vendors, and explain to customers why they should keep coming, Tasha said. Nobody does that for the privilege of facing another deadline in August. I can't promise forever. Forever is not a business term. Neither is trust, Claire said. People use it anyway. Marion looked at her. Claire's face revealed nothing. Eli folded his hands over the closed toolbox. I'd need a year, Rosa nodded. At least? A year from August? Marion asked. From now, Tasha said. That means if the market barely breaks even in August, I cannot sell until next spring. It means if we meet the targets we agree on, you won't sell until next May. May is not a year. I'm leaving room to negotiate, I noticed. Claire sat in the empty chair beside Marion. You shouldn't commit until you know the roof cost. I wasn't asking you. No, but you invited me to present the numbers. You presented them. Rosa pushed the chicken toward Claire. Now eat so you can be dismissed with dignity. Claire took a piece. They argued over dates while the light faded beyond the high windows. June 1st of the following year was too soon for Tasha and too long for Claire. Eli proposed January, misunderstood which January, and briefly made everybody angrier. Marion listened until they started repeating themselves. If we cover operating costs by August, maintain signed commitments from enough vendors to cover them through winter, and establish a repair plan I can afford, I will not sell before next June. Tasha wrote it down. Claire set her fork aside. That is 13 months. I know how calendars work. You don't know what your health or finances will look like in 13 months. Neither do you. That's my point. No. Your point is that uncertainty only counts when it supports what you already want. Claire's chair scraped as she stood. I'll leave you to the social club. Rosa held up the foil pan. Take rice. I don't want rice. Nobody wants rice when they are angry. That is when they need it. Claire took the rice. The office door closed harder than necessary behind her. Tasha waited until Claire was out of hearing. You don't have to fight every time she worries. I didn't fight, I corrected. Your corrections have artillery. Marion opened the expense ledger. We have $3,800 to find. Eli saved the meeting from emotion by producing a hand-drawn floor plan. Closing the east wing between November and March would reduce heating and lighting costs, though not as much as Claire estimated. 5 vendors would need to move. Arthur could go near the front windows if he stopped spreading records into the aisle. Calvin could take half of Lenny's empty area. Eli could use the storage space behind Rosa's kitchen, as long as Rosa's supplies were not touched. His tools smell like gasoline, Rosa said. They do not. Your whole truck smells like gasoline. It's a truck. What does that explain? Where I keep gasoline. Marion wrote down a projected savings of $620 a month during winter. They divided Lenny's former stall into 3 spaces on paper. One could take produce. One had water access suitable for prepared food. One, near the dock, could serve customers collecting orders without walking through the entire building. We don't have enough orders for a pickup space, Marion said. Because we don't offer pickup, Rosa replied. Restaurants already collect from me and 2 farmers. The onion man, Eli said. His name is Paul. He brings onions. This is why Paul doesn't talk to you. Tasha drew a box around the proposed pickup area. We could combine orders. Customers buy from several vendors, collect once. Who manages that? Everyone looked at Marion. No. Rosa laughed. Your answer was too fast. I am not building a new job for myself while trying to survive the old one. Tasha underlined the box. Then we find someone else. That answer unsettled Marion more than the proposal. At Ashby, finding someone else had usually meant Walt shouting her name from across the building. They moved to rent. Tasha signed her agreement. Eli signed after Marion removed a charge for storage space he had not used since winter. Rosa did not sign. I can pay half the increase now, she said. The rest after festival season. What festival season? Marion asked. All summer is festival season if I say it with confidence. You told the room secret favors had to stop, Tasha reminded Marion. I remember. Rosa's expression changed, not anger, hurt, carefully controlled. Marion took a fresh sheet of paper, half the increase through July, full proposed rent beginning August 1st. We both sign. The difference is recorded as a temporary reduction, not moved forward as debt. And if August is bad, We have an honest conversation before it becomes September. Rosa studied her. Walt would have said not to worry. Walt worried enough for everybody. He just did it privately. After a moment, Rosa signed. The ink looked no different on 3 agreements, but Marion felt the weight of each name. They scheduled a wider vendor meeting for the following Tuesday and assigned tasks. Eli would verify utility savings and price temporary barriers for the East Wing. Rosa would identify current pickup orders. Tasha would draft a description of the 3 available stalls that did not include the phrase exciting opportunity, which she said was how people advertised disasters. Marion would call every vendor who had not returned an agreement. Not Claire, Tasha said. I know who is on the list. I mean, don't give Claire the calls because she is efficient. I wasn't planning to. You were thinking about it. Marion had been. When the others left, Claire was still in the office. The rice sat unopened beside her laptop. Marion entered and put the 3 signed agreements on Walt's desk. Claire glanced at them. You got 3. Out of 3 out of 31. We didn't ask 31 tonight. Claire rotated the appraisal report toward Marion. The buyer may not wait 13 months. Then the buyer should pursue another building. You don't mean that. Why do you keep telling me what I mean? Because you look at this number, and I can see you understand what it offers. Marion understood. No loading door, no winter utility bills, no stalls measured in inches, no phone ringing at dawn because Rosa's refrigerator had stopped humming. She also understood the empty place where Lenny's produce tables had stood. I understand the price, she said. That isn't the same as understanding the offer. Claire leaned back. What would make you sell? I don't know. Would anything? Yes, it hurt to say, and Claire seemed startled that it did. Marion touched the appraisal report. But I will not close this place just because being afraid for me has made you impatient. Claire looked toward the market beyond the glass. You think that's all this is? I think you haven't told me what else it is. For a moment, Marion thought she might. Then Claire shut the laptop. I'm driving home tonight. I have work tomorrow. You could leave in the morning. I've been away a week. You said they understood. They do. Understanding isn't the same as not needing me. The sentence was too deliberate to be accidental. Marion watched Claire put the laptop into its case. At the front entrance, Janice Cole stood outside the locked glass door. 2 empty cardboard boxes were tucked under one arm. Marion let her in. Sorry, Janice said. I left these. Her gaze went past Marion to Claire, then to the appraisal report visible through the office glass. You got the number? Janice asked. Yes. Was it good? It was a number. Janice shifted the boxes. Fairview needs my answer tomorrow. Then let's talk now. I can't. My sister's waiting in the car. Claire came up behind Marion with her laptop bag over one shoulder. Janice looked between them. If this was your money, she asked Claire, would you sign a new lease here? Marion felt Claire go still. It isn't her money, Marion said. I know. I'm just asking what she thinks. Claire's eyes stayed on Janice, not Marion. I think, she said carefully, you should be honest with yourself about how much uncertainty you can afford. Janice nodded as if she had received permission. Then she carried the boxes out to her car. Marion waited until the car carrying Janice turned onto the road. That was not your answer to give, she said. Claire adjusted the strap of her laptop bag. I didn't tell her what to do. You told her not to trust us. I told her to think about what she can afford. You made it sound like staying is foolish. Is it? Marion unlocked the front door again. Drive carefully. Mom? You said you needed to go. I do, but I'm not leaving in the middle of this. You entered the middle on your own. Claire's mouth tightened. Fine. She hugged Marion anyway. The embrace was stiff for its first second. Then Claire held on with both arms, and Marion smelled Walt's flannel shirt over the clean, citrus scent of her daughter's hair. Marion nearly told her to stay. She nearly apologized without knowing which part she meant. Claire released her first. I'll call when I get home. You'll be tired. I'll still call. She did. Marion let it ring 4 times before answering, so Claire would not think she had been waiting. Janice's notice arrived by email at 7 the next morning. She thanked Marion for 14 good years, apologized for the timing, and said Fairview offered stability she could not ignore. She would remove her inventory after Saturday. Marion read it at the dining table with Walt's boots crooked beside the back door. She began typing a response, deleted it. and called Janice. "I wish you had spoken to me," she said when Janice answered. "I knew you'd ask me to stay. I might have. And I might have, which would be worse. Why? Because I don't know if staying would be my decision or me feeling sorry for you." Marion's grip tightened on the phone. "I have never asked you to feel sorry for me. I know. That's why it works." The honesty stung without being cruel. Janice sighed. "I'm sorry. I love you. I love the market. But I don't have retirement money to put into either one." After the call, Marion marked Janice's agreement declined. Then she erased the word and wrote moving. It was not much kinder, but it was more accurate. By Friday, 18 vendors had signed. 5 wanted changes. 4 had not answered. Janice and Lenny were leaving. One man who sold military surplus claimed he had never received his letter, though Marion had watched him use it to level a table leg. Tasha came every afternoon after work and occupied the office chair opposite Marion. She called vendors who disliked phone calls and cornered those who claimed not to understand the agreement. She did not persuade anyone to sign. She asked questions until people heard their own answers. Rosa made a chart of pickup orders. Her numbers were written in purple marker and included categories called Serious, Maybe, and Paul's Onions. Eli measured the East Wing's heat loss and announced that the windows were mostly decorative. Through all of it, customers kept asking whether the market was closing. Marion answered the same way every time. "We are open." By Saturday, she was tired of hearing herself say it. Lenny's stall was empty except for one wooden crate he had forgotten near the dock. Janice had begun packing before opening. Her soap display was half its usual height, exposing the scarred table beneath it. Customers noticed. Calvin positioned a walnut dining table where Webb's produce used to be. "No," Marion said. "It fills the space. It blocks the loading path. Nobody's loading. Paul has onions coming at 10. Calvin looked toward the empty dock. "This place is just onions and regulations now. Move the table." He moved it 6 inches. "All the way." "You're hard in grief." "I was hard before grief." "Ask Claire." The morning crowd was smaller. Marion knew before counting receipts. She could feel the missing bodies in the width of the aisles, hear it in the spaces between conversations. Lenny had drawn customers who came weekly for produce and bought other things because they were already there. At Fairview, those customers would pass Janice's soap on their way to his peaches. At 11, rain began tapping the roof. Eli found Marion near the communal kitchen. "Storm lines coming from the west. It's raining now. This is the polite part." They placed buckets beneath the familiar leaks. 1 by Arthur's records, 2 near Calvin's stall. A roasting pan under the drip outside Rosa's kitchen, because all the buckets were spoken for. Rosa stared at it. "That pan is for food, not anymore." By noon, rain hammered the high windows hard enough to drown out the market music. Water ran down the interior brick beside the loading door. Eli climbed a ladder to check a ceiling seam, and Marion ordered him down before she had to explain his death to anyone. A customer bought an umbrella from the military surplus stall and opened it indoors. Arthur called that bad luck. "Look up," the customer said. The first sheet of water fell over Calvin's stall at 12:18. It came through a split in the patched roofing above the east truss, not as a drip, but as a sudden clear curtain. It struck the walnut table, 2 dining chairs, and the maple dresser Marion had helped move on the first Saturday. Calvin lunged for the dresser. Marion grabbed one end. Water soaked her blouse before they got it into the aisle. "Chairs!" he shouted. Eli and Tasha pulled them clear. Rosa killed power to the east outlets. Customers crowded toward the entrance while Arthur moved records with frantic, reverent speed. A ceiling panel sagged. "Everybody out of this section," Marion called. Calvin stood beneath the leak, staring at his furniture. "Move," Marion said. "The walnut's staining. We'll handle it. That table took me 3 weeks. I said we'll handle it. Walt said he was fixing this." Marion's wet hand slipped on the dresser handle. Calvin closed his eyes. Damn it. She wanted to tell him Walt was dead, as if that were information instead of the central fact in every room. She wanted to tell him the market had no money for a walnut table. She wanted him to stop making her choose between his work and the man who had failed to protect it. Instead, she said, "Get out from under the ceiling." The fire department was not needed. Eli shut off the affected circuits, and the ceiling panel held. They closed the east wing and moved Calvin's damaged pieces near the office. The market stayed open because Marion could not bear the sight of everyone packing at once. She spent the afternoon writing down losses. Calvin valued the table and chairs at $2,600. The dresser, if the veneer lifted, would be another $800. Marion did not argue. He had receipts for materials and photographs of the finished work. I have insurance, she said. What's the deductible? Too much. He rubbed a dry cloth over the walnut. A dark tide line had already formed along one edge. We can see what dries. No, write the full amount. I'm not trying to bleed you, I know. If I can repair it, you don't owe replacement. I know that too. He looked toward the sheet of plastic Eli had stretched beneath the leak. Water collected in its center, heavy and trembling. You should sell, Calvin said. The words came so softly Marion thought she had misheard. You've been here 11 years. That's why I'm saying it. Then why did you sign your agreement? Because I wanted staying to be possible. He folded the cloth. Wanting isn't the same as believing. Marion carried the damage list into the office and shut the door. Walt's mug sat on the corner of the desk. Rain hammered the roof above it. She picked it up, then set it down before anger made her throw it. Claire called at 3. I heard about the roof. How? Janice posted a picture. She has time to photograph leaks while packing? It's a large leak. It's a medium leak photographed enthusiastically. Is anyone hurt? No. Was anything damaged? Calvin's furniture. How much? Maybe $3,400. Claire was silent. Marion could picture her doing arithmetic. Appraisal value minus mortgage, selling costs, retirement withdrawals, and now walnut. Don't say it, Marion warned. I was going to ask if you need me. No, that wasn't what you thought I'd say. No. Do you? Marion looked through the office glass. Tasha was helping Calvin lift a chair onto blocks. Rosa mopped near the kitchen. Eli stood on the safe side of the barrier, arguing with a roll of plastic. No, she repeated. Claire exhaled. All right. The word carried hurt, but Marion did not take it back. The wider vendor meeting convened Tuesday with the East Wing still closed. 26 people came. Marion described the temporary operating group, the proposed winter closure of the East Wing, and the plan to divide Lenny's space. She explained the storm damage and added it to the 90-day expense target. The room grew restless. A candle seller named Howard Nash raised his hand. I'm not signing a year. You were asking for 2 years last fall, Marion said. That was before. Before what? He glanced toward the empty chair where Claire had sat at the first meeting. Your daughter said the sale's probably the only practical outcome. Marion felt Tasha turn beside her. When did Claire say that? Howard looked uncomfortable. She emailed me after the first meeting. Said I should be cautious about buying new display cases. Did she contact anyone else? Janice was gone. Lenny was gone. Nobody answered at first. Then Janice's former neighbor, a pottery seller named Marcy Bellows, lifted one hand. She spoke to me during the appraisal, Marcy said. She said not to make decisions based on promises you might not be able to keep. Marion heard Claire's careful voice inside the sentence. Not close. Not sell. Just enough doubt placed where it could grow. Did you order the new kiln shelves? Marion asked. No. Are you signing? Marcy looked down at her unsigned agreement. I don't know. The room waited. Marion closed the ledger in front of her. We are finished for tonight, she said. Tasha touched her arm. Marion? I said we are finished. She walked into the office, shut the door, and called Claire. Her daughter answered on the second ring. How did the meeting go? Marion looked at the vendor contact list open beside Walt's computer. Did you use this list to email Howard Nash? Silence. Then Claire said, I was trying to keep people from making investments they couldn't recover. You will no longer contact anyone connected to this market. Mom, listen, you will return your office key. You will delete the account files from your laptop. You will not speak to buyers, appraisers, or vendors for me. I wasn't speaking for you. No, Marion said. You were speaking around me. The office key hung on Claire's ring because Marion had given it to her during the week of Walt's funeral. Marion could see it in her mind, shining between the key to Claire's house and the little brass tag Walt had stamped with the word family. Bring it back, she said. Then she ended the call before Claire could tell her that control was love again. The office door opened before Marion could put down the phone. Tasha stepped in and closed it behind her. You cannot dismiss 26 people because you're angry with one. I just did. Yes, it was very impressive. Now open the door. Marion stared at her. You asked these people to disagree in the same room, Tasha said. They did. You don't get to punish the room. My daughter used private records to undermine me. I heard. She contacted vendors without permission. I heard that too. Then why are you correcting me? Because Claire is in Columbus, and the rest of us are standing outside this office wondering whether our landlord has disappeared. Marion's eyes burned. I am right here, physically. Tasha opened the door. The vendors had not left. They stood in clusters beneath the bare bulbs, speaking in low voices. Howard Nash looked particularly miserable, as if exposing Claire's email had been a personal failure. Marion returned to the table. My daughter had no authority to advise anyone, she said. She will not have access to vendor information again. What she said was her opinion, not a decision. Howard raised one hand halfway. She seemed like she was trying to help. She often does. A few people understood the sentence well enough to look away. Marcy Bellows slid her unsigned agreement into her purse. Was she wrong? Marion could have defended herself. She could have said Claire did not understand the market, that the appraisal was only information, that the storage company had no permission to walk through the building. Instead, she said, I don't know whether Ashby will survive. No one moved. I know what it costs. I know what has been lost. I know what we need to prove. If that isn't enough certainty for you, then you should not sign. Tasha's red glasses angled toward her. But if you stay, Marion continued, you will get the truth from me. Not reassurance, not whatever Claire thinks will protect you. Me. Marcy nodded once. She did not sign. After everyone left, Marion found Claire's office key on the kitchen table at home. Claire was sitting beside it. Marion had not heard her come in. Walt's flannel shirt was folded over the back of a chair. Claire wore her own gray sweater, which made the kitchen look less haunted. You drove 2 hours to enter a house without knocking? Marion asked. You gave me a key for emergencies. You being furious counts. That key is next. Claire pushed the office key across the table. The brass tag stamped family caught beneath her fingers. I deleted the account files, she said. I sent you screenshots showing the folders are empty. I emailed Philip Dean and told him future contact goes through you. I told the storage company the same. Good. I didn't send them anything confidential. Good. I didn't tell anyone the market was definitely closing. You told them staying was unsafe. I told them not to spend money they might lose. That was not your judgment to make. Howard asked me whether he should buy $1,800 worth of display cases. What was I supposed to say? Tell him to ask me. He said he had. And you told him you hoped the market would be open next summer. That is true. It isn't an answer. Marion took off her coat and hung it by the door. Her wet blouse from Saturday still draped over the laundry sink because the sealing water had left a rust-colored stain along one sleeve. You went through my contact list, she said. I used information I had because I thought people deserved to know the risk. They knew. Did Janice know you might take a $640,000 offer while asking her to sign a lease? There is no offer. There was interest before Dad died. Marion turned. Before? Claire's face changed. How long before? Late winter. Dad asked me what commercial property was selling for around here. He contacted you. He asked a question, and you called the storage company. Not then. I pulled comparable sales. I told him the land might be worth more without the market. Marion gripped the back of a chair. What did he say? He said, don't tell your mother that. The answer sounded exactly like Walt. Light, conspiratorial, as if keeping Marion uninformed were an affectionate household joke. Claire's voice softened. I thought he would tell you. He didn't. I know. Did he tell you about the retirement money? No. Marion searched her daughter's face and believed her. Claire rubbed her thumb along the brass tag. He asked what a condo near me would cost. The kitchen seemed to shift by half an inch. When? January. He hated Columbus. He hated my neighborhood because he got lost twice. He refused to use the navigation. He called it bossy. It was bossy. For a moment, they were aligned in the familiar exasperation of loving Walt. Then the moment closed. He was considering it, Claire said. Selling. He was frightened. So are you. I'm allowed. You're allowed to be frightened? You're not allowed to make 30 people dependent on your denial? Marion pulled out a chair but did not sit. They were dependent before he died. That doesn't make it noble. No. Claire's eyes flashed. You always do that. Do what? Agree in a way that ends the argument. I'm not required to keep fighting after you make a true statement. You make me sound unreasonable for still being angry. Then be angry. I am. Good. We finally agree badly. Claire stood and paced to the sink. She stopped at Marion's stained blouse. When I left Paul, she said, I packed that duplex by myself for 3 hours. Marion knew immediately which Paul she meant, though the market had its own Paul with onions, and no one had ever confused the two before. Your friends were there. Yes, my friends came. The freezer failed. I know. I heard about every pound of meat. We would have lost thousands. I was losing my marriage. Marion sat. Claire's back remained turned. I didn't need you to save me. I needed you to arrive when you said you would. We came at 12:20. I know. You brought Rosa with you because her truck was bigger. She helped. She spent 40 minutes telling me Paul never had strong eyes. Despite everything, Marion said, she was right. Claire gave a broken laugh. That is not the point. No. You missed the point then too. Marion folded her hands on the table. I'm sorry. Claire stayed at the sink. I was wrong, Marion said. You were capable, and I used that as an excuse to go where people acted like they needed me more. Claire turned around. Her anger had gone quiet, which was worse. Dad did that too. Yes. And now, every time I look at the market, I see the thing you chose. Every time I look at it, I see what we built. I know. Neither truth removed the other. Marion covered the office key with her palm. You still don't get to choose for me. I know that too. Claire left before dark. She took Walt's flannel shirt folded over her arm. Marion did not ask whether she was keeping it. The next morning, Marion approved an advertising package called Ashby Market is Back. Tasha read the proposal and said, back from where? People think we're closing. So our response is to imply we were gone? It's local radio, social media, banners, and live music. How much? $1,600. Tasha removed her glasses. Marion disliked when she did that. It meant the full force of her attention no longer required vision. We are short $3,800 a month, Tasha said, which is why we need customers. We need customers who buy things. These will. How do you know? Because that is the point of advertising. The point of advertising is to make people arrive. Commerce is a separate disappointment. Marion approved it anyway. The event ran 2 Saturdays later. A blue banner stretched across the entrance. A radio host broadcast from beside Walt's empty chair and called Marion Ashby's favorite market mom until Tasha threatened to unplug him. A local trio played folk songs near the kitchen. Rosa handed out samples. Calvin demonstrated furniture stripping, though Marion made him change the handwritten sign from Watch Calvin Strip. By 10, the parking lot was full. By 11, cars lined the road. People entered for free tote bags, free music, free food, and the chance to spin the radio station's prize wheel. They photographed themselves beneath the old beams. They complimented the market's charm. They asked whether the building could be rented for weddings. They did not buy much. Arthur sold records. Rosa sold lunch. Tasha did moderately well because people considered vintage scarves an event purchase. Eli sold 3 jars of honey on Foster's behalf. After Eli accidentally took over the stall while Foster went to the restroom, Howard sold 2 candles. Calvin sold nothing. Marion stood near the entrance, counting tote bags leave with nothing inside them. At 2, the trio began its second version of Take Me Home, Country Roads. Tasha appeared beside Marion. If they play it again, she said, West Virginia should sue. There are a lot of people here. Yes. They might come back. Yes. You don't believe that. I believe some will. By closing, attendance had nearly tripled. Vendor sales had risen 12%. The advertising, musicians, permits, and security cost more than the additional revenue the market received for the day. Calvin put the walnut table in his truck without hanging a sold tag. Howard left his unsigned agreement on Marion's desk. Marcy took hers home again. Rosa found Marion in the office adding columns. You were right, Marion said. Rosa sat across from her. That is why I came in quickly. Tasha would enjoy it too much. We spent $1,600 to give strangers a free Saturday. Some bought enchiladas. You gave out 80 samples. Samples are small. They were half an enchilada. I do not believe in insulting people with bites. Marion pressed 2 fingers against her forehead. The receipts blurred. Rosa reached for the purple chart she had left beneath the expense ledger. We got 37 names for combined pickup. Names are not orders. 4 restaurants want produce, bread, eggs, and prepared food delivered to one place. Paul can bring onions. Foster can bring honey. I can make food. Customers asked if Tasha could add clothing pickups. Who is going to sort it? Not you. Who then? Rosa smiled. We find someone else. The phrase did not frighten Marion this time. It annoyed her, which felt like progress. Tasha came in carrying the empty prize wheel. The radio man left this, she said. I'm considering pushing it into traffic. Put it in storage. The east wing is closed, then Calvin's empty stall. Tasha leaned the wheel against the wall and looked at the purple chart. What's that? 37 people who might pay before they arrive, Rosa said. Tasha put her glasses back on. They worked until 9, dividing the names into restaurant buyers, household orders, and people who had probably signed only to escape conversation. Eli joined them with leftover honey. Arthur returned because he had forgotten his jacket, then stayed to explain why records could not be included in food boxes. Nobody asked Claire for a spreadsheet. Near the bottom of the list, Marion found a note beside one customer's name. Would come weekly if hours and pickup were dependable. Not charming, not historic. Not a place saved by sentiment. Dependable. Marion circled the word. Then she drew a line through Ashby Market is back and wrote beneath it, what can we do that people need? The question acquired arrows, boxes, and 3 separate arguments about onions. Paul Wexler delivered onions in 50-pound sacks to restaurants that picked them up from the dock. Rosa wanted to include those orders in the new system. Tasha said, a restaurant purchasing 50 pounds of onions did not belong in the same line as a woman collecting 1 scarf and 2 jars of honey. Why? Rosa asked. Because one requires a hand truck. All commerce requires strength, not scarves. You have not met the right scarf. Marion let them argue while she wrote Thursday noon beside order deadline and Saturday 9, one beside pickup. Customers would pay when ordering. Vendors would prepare and label their own goods. The market would collect an 8% handling fee, enough to cover card charges and pay someone to manage the dock. The last point was where the arrows stopped. Who? Eli asked. Not me, Marion said. Not you, Tasha agreed. I can handle the first week, Rosa said. You serve lunch on Saturdays, Marion reminded her. I can do 2 things. You already do 7 badly. Rosa put down her purple marker. Name them? We don't have time. Tasha volunteered to organize the pilot if Rosa collected food orders and Marion called the people on the list. Eli would mark pickup spaces and keep vehicles from blocking the loading door. They decided to accept orders from only 6 vendors at first. Arthur objected to being excluded. Nobody asked to collect a record with their eggs, Tasha said. They weren't offered the possibility. It's a food pickup. Tasha has scarves. Scarves don't melt, leak, or require an explanation of jazz fusion. Marion limited the pilot to food, honey, and Tasha's clothing, because Tasha refused to spend 6 unpaid hours organizing other people's sales without testing whether her own customers wanted the service. Arthur accused them of favoritism and then ate the last piece of Rosa's chicken. Marion called all 37 names the next day. 11 people did not answer. 6 remembered signing up, but said they were only curious. One woman thought combined pickup meant the market would combine all food into a single prepared meal. Another wanted Marion to deliver it to a town 40 minutes away. By Thursday noon, they had 14 paid orders. Rosa looked at the list. 14 is good. 14 is not 37. 37 was hope. 14 is money. That was true. Marion had begun to respect facts that arrived smaller than expected. The orders totaled $846, divided among the 6 vendors. Ashby Market's fee would be less than $70. It would not repair a ceiling tile, but the money had been paid before anyone drove into the parking lot. The first Saturday pickup began with Tasha discovering that Rosa had labeled 3 bags Mary. 3 women are named Mary. Which Mary gets the salsa verde? The one who ordered it. They all ordered salsa verde. This shows excellent taste. It shows why last names exist. Paul's onions arrived early and occupied the space Eli had marked for cars. Eli moved them behind the kitchen. Rosa moved them back because the kitchen door would not open. Paul arrived again with potatoes no one had recorded. I texted Marion, he said. Marion checked her phone. His message had gone to the house number. That phone does not receive texts. It showed sent. It lied. The loading door jammed halfway up, while the first customer waited outside in a sedan. Eli stood beneath it, hands on his hips. Don't go under there, Marion said. I wasn't. You were considering it. I was listening. To a door? It has moving parts. It hasn't moved. Exactly. They directed customers through the side entrance and carried the orders around. Tasha checked names. Rosa sorted food. Marion ran between them until Tasha pointed a red fingernail toward Walt's chair. Sit. I am working. You are duplicating. Somebody forgot the Weber's honey. Eli is getting it. The other Mary has the wrong salsa. Rosa is switching it. Paul brought potatoes. Paul is taking them to his regular customer. Marion looked around. Every problem she had identified already belonged to someone else. She sat. Walt's blue mug rested on the office windowsill now. His chair remained near the entrance, but customers had begun using it again. A man in paint-spattered jeans sat there while waiting for onions, one ankle over his knee, unaware that he had crossed what once seemed like sacred ground. Marion expected the sight to hurt. It did, but not in the way she feared. The chair looked useful. By 13 orders had been collected. The 14th belonged to a restaurant manager who arrived at 3 and apologized so sincerely that Tasha charged him a late fee. Can we do that? Marion asked. We just did. The pilot had consumed more labor than $70 could pay for. 2 salsa jars had been switched. Foster's honey had gone missing, then turned up in Rosa's refrigerator beside the sour cream. Yet 12 customers asked to order again. 3 wanted weekly standing orders. The restaurant manager asked whether the market could add bread and greens. Marion wrote every request down. Calvin sold the maple dresser that afternoon. The buyer accepted the faint watermark after Calvin told her the entire story of the storm and reduced the price by $50. You reported $800 in damage, Marion reminded him. Veneer stayed flat. And the walnut set? Needs work. How much? I don't know yet. Calvin, I'm being honest slowly. She wrote him a market check for $600 toward materials. It left less than $4,000 in the operating account after the mortgage payment. The roof estimates arrived Monday. A full replacement cost $89,000. Repairing the occupied main section and sealing the east parapet cost $36,000. An emergency patch, guaranteed for only 1 year, cost $11,500. Eli spread the estimates across the folding table. Full replacement is out, Marion said. Unless you sell a kidney, Rosa said. Whose? Rosa considered Eli. I'm not compatible, he said. Coward. Tasha read the warranty terms. The emergency patch buys time. It also means paying again, Marion said. Time is what we're trying to buy, with borrowed money. Everything in this building is borrowed from later, Eli said. Roof, heater, loading door. Marion did not appreciate the sentence, mostly because it sounded like something Walt might have said if Walt had believed in consequences. The handling fees from pickup would not cover a loan. The proposed rent increases, if everyone signed, would close most of the operating deficit but not create $36,000. The market could raise a repair contribution from vendors, but Marion refused to charge people for a roof on a building they did not own. We could prepay rent, Tasha said. That is charging you for the roof with extra steps. No, it gives you cash now and credits us later. It leaves me without rent later. By later, pickup and new stalls should be generating more. Should. Tasha met her gaze. There is no plan without that word. Marion took the estimates home. She laid them beside the appraisal on the dining table and ate crackers over the sink, because cooking for one still felt like an accusation. Claire had called twice since returning the office key. Their first conversation lasted 6 minutes and concerned weather. The second lasted 4 and concerned whether Marion had changed the furnace filter. Marion had not told her about the pickup pilot. She had not told her about the roof estimates either. The silence was a boundary until it became loneliness. At 8:30, Claire called again. I was thinking about Dad's brown jacket, she said. Marion looked toward the hall, as if she might see it hanging upstairs. What about it? The one he wore at the market. It's in the closet. I thought maybe you could give it to Lenny. No? Okay. The speed of Claire's surrender irritated her. He left peppermint wrappers in every pocket, Marion said. He did that with receipts. There are no receipts. Then he was improving. Marion sat at the table. The first pickup worked. Claire was quiet for half a beat. How many orders? 14. That's good. It was chaotic. First runs are, we made $70. Before labor? Marion smiled in spite of herself. Yes, Claire. Before labor. I'm not criticizing. You're calculating. That is how I show interest. They spoke for 20 minutes. Marion described the three Marys and Paul's unrecorded potatoes. Claire laughed when she heard about Tasha's late fee. She did not offer to build a spreadsheet. Marion did not ask. When the call ended, the house felt less empty and no less hers. The following week produced 23 pickup orders. They added bread from a baker who had previously supplied 2 vendors but never rented a stall. A small hydroponic grower named June Dalrymple took 1/3 of Lenny's old space for a 6-week trial. She sold lettuce, herbs, and green onions beneath a sign so modest customers kept asking whether she was open. You need color, Marion told her. I grow green things. On the sign. June looked at the handwritten card. People can read. You have not worked in retail. 2 restaurants signed standing weekly orders. Rosa's sales improved enough that she paid the second half of her increase early, then demanded Marion record it as showing off. Howard signed his agreement without buying new display cases. Marcy still had not. At the end of the month, 24 vendors were committed through the following June. Combined rent and savings from closing the East Wing would cover operating expenses if winter sales did not fall more than projected. The repair remained unsolved. Marion scheduled an appointment with her bank to discuss the $11,500 patch. She did not tell the vendor group until she knew the terms. The storage company's offer arrived first. It came by certified mail to the market office, addressed only to Marion. Claire's name appeared nowhere. The company offered $675,000 for the property as is, subject to inspection. Marion would have 90 days after closing to empty the building. They would pay standard closing costs and wanted an answer within 12 business days. She read it twice. Then she calculated what would remain after the mortgage, taxes, and replacing the retirement money Walt had spent. More than enough to repair her house, live carefully, and stop waking at 4:30 on Saturdays. Not wealth, relief. Through the office glass, she could see the new pickup shelves Eli had built beside the dock. 23 labeled orders waited there. Tasha checked names. June arranged lettuce where Lenny's tomatoes used to be. Rosa argued with Paul about onions. Vendors were still coming. Now Marion had to decide whether their return was proof the market could live, or the last good chance to leave it without taking everyone down with her. Marion folded the offer along its center crease and put it beneath Walt's blue mug. The mug was not heavy enough to hold down $675,000. One corner of the paper lifted in the air from the office vent, then settled. She told no one that day. Every time Tasha entered the office, Marion found a reason to close the drawer. Every time Rosa asked why she was quiet, Marion blamed the bank appointment. She counted pickup fees twice, corrected June's stall deposit, and wrote the wrong date on 3 checks. At closing, she slipped the offer into her purse. The house was hot when she got home. She had left the upstairs windows open and the air conditioner off, one of Walt's habits that had annoyed her while he lived and felt too expensive to abandon now. She carried the letter from room to room. On the kitchen counter, it looked like a bill. On the dining table beside the roof estimates, it looked like an answer. In the bedroom, set before Walt's photograph, it looked like betrayal performed for an audience of one. Marion called Claire. I got an offer. Claire did not speak for several seconds. From the storage company? Yes. How much? $675. Another silence, this one full of arithmetic. Are you at home? Claire asked. Yes, I'm coming. You do not need to drive 2 hours to read a number. I'm already getting my keys. Claire, I won't call anyone. I won't email anyone. I'll bring dinner and keep every opinion inside my body until invited. That sounds medically dangerous. I'll risk it. She arrived a little after 8, carrying Chinese food from Golden Dragon. Marion noticed the restaurant name before she noticed the food. That was unnecessary, she said. It was on the way. It is 20 minutes out of the way. It was symbolically on the way. Claire set the cartons on the dining table, covering part of the emergency roof estimate. Marion moved them before sauce could stain it. They ate pork dumplings and sesame chicken while the offer lay unopened between them. Claire obeyed her promise for almost 12 minutes. May I? Marion passed her the letter. Claire read every page, including the inspection conditions and the paragraph allowing the buyer to withdraw if zoning or site tests disappointed them. It's fair, she said. It is. Better than the appraisal. By $35,000, they cover normal closing costs. I can read. I know. Claire folded the pages in the same place as Marion had. Take it. There it was. No triumph. No speech about safety. Just 2 words delivered with exhausted conviction. Marion opened another carton. You lasted longer than I expected. You asked my opinion. I handed you a letter. That is how our family requests opinions. The vendors have committed through June. 24 have. Marion looked up. How do you know the number? You told me. I told you there were 23 pickup orders. You said 24 signed agreements when we spoke Sunday. Marion had forgotten. She disliked forgetting, because Claire treated every lapse as evidence for a larger case. The promise was conditional, Claire continued. You still don't have an affordable repair plan. I'm meeting with the bank tomorrow, for a patch that lasts a year. A year is time. To do what? Build a reserve, fill stalls, grow pickup, and if any of those fail, then I make another decision. Claire leaned back. The company is offering you enough to stop betting. I don't gamble. You spent $1,600 on tote bags. That was advertising. It was gambling with a banner. Marion could not argue. Claire placed the offer beside her plate. Dad wanted to know what the property was worth. He asked about living near me. Maybe he was finally ready. Or maybe he was scared. People can be ready because they're scared. He didn't tell me. No? You keep using what he told you, as if it completes what he hid from me. Claire's face tightened. I'm not trying to have secret knowledge about my dead father. But you do, and I hate it. The answer stopped Marion. Claire pushed her carton aside. Do you think it feels good knowing he called me about selling and didn't call me when he moved retirement money? I got the version of Dad who considered changing. You got the version who kept making promises. Neither of us got the truth. Marion looked at the roof estimates under the food. He knew I'd fight him, she said. He knew you'd ask him to explain. That too. Claire traced a grease spot on the paper bag. I contacted the buyer after the funeral because I thought I was finishing something he had started. Then every problem made me more certain. The ledgers, Lenny leaving, the roof. And when I did not become certain with you, I pushed. You frightened people, I know. You don't get to protect them from trusting me, I know. Do you? Claire met her eyes. I emailed Howard today, and Marcy. I told them my messages reflected my opinion, that I had no role in deciding the market's future, and that I should not have contacted them privately. You spoke to vendors after I told you not to correct what I had already said. I copied you. Marion had not checked email since noon. I didn't ask them to stay, Claire said. I didn't tell them you were right. I told them I was wrong to interfere. The distinction mattered. Marion did not want it to. What did they say? Howard thanked me. Marcy hasn't answered. Marion pushed the dumplings toward Claire. These are cold. I'll survive. They ate 2 more in silence. At the bank, Marion learned that survival had interest. The loan officer, Nancy Doyle, had visited Ashby Market for years and bought honey every Christmas. She was friendly without being soft. She reviewed the leases, the operating statements, the appraisal, and the 3 roof estimates. The property supports the loan, Nancy said. The market has to support the payment. Exactly. The emergency patch would cost roughly $240 a month over 5 years. The larger $36,000 repair would cost more than $750, depending on final terms. Nancy recommended the smaller loan only if Marion accepted that another roof expense could arrive before the loan ended. You're borrowing 5 years for 1 year of guarantee, she said. The roofer said it may last 3. The guarantee says 1. You sound like Claire. I hope that's not a reason to move your accounts. Marion looked through the glass wall of Nancy's office at people depositing checks and discussing ordinary futures. What would you do? She asked. Nancy capped her pen. I would decide whether I want to own this building 5 years from now. If yes, the patch is delaying the proper repair. If no, every repair is for the next owner. That doesn't answer me. It isn't my building. Marion almost smiled. You and Tasha would get along. Nancy offered preliminary approval for either amount, subject to final review. The decision remained Marion's. She preferred it when other people were wrong for her. The temporary operating group met that evening. Marion put the storage offer in the middle of the folding table before Rosa could open the food. Tasha read it. Eli read it. Rosa read only the first page and the price. "You should consider it," Eli said. Marion had expected resistance. "That's all?" I said, "Consider. The building is held together by your toolbox." "My toolbox is tired." Rosa passed the offer to Tasha again. "If you take it, what happens to everyone? 90 days to leave after closing. That is not much time." "No." "Would you take the loan if this offer did not exist?" Tasha asked. "The small one. Would you take it because the market can repay it, or because you can?" Marion did not answer quickly enough. Tasha nodded. "There it is." "What?" "The old arrangement. The market falls short, and the bells absorb it. This is my risk to take. Not if our plan depends on you doing it." Rosa folded her arms. "We can prepay 3 months." "No." "You did not let me finish. You proposed it last week. I have improved the proposal." "We put prepaid rent into a separate account," Tasha said. "It can only be used for the roof. Monthly operating expenses still have to be covered by monthly income." "Then what happens during the prepaid months?" "Vendors continue paying half their normal rent into operations. The other half is credited. It would cost them more now and less later, without dropping market income to zero. That makes no sense for anyone who is struggling. It would be voluntary," Rosa said. "Not everybody can do it." Eli had already begun writing numbers. If 12 vendors prepaid 3 months at an average of $500, that's $18,000. "Not average rent," Tasha corrected. "Average contribution. Then maybe 10 or 12,000. "Which pays for the patch," Rosa said, "and puts the burden on tenants." "We are asking for a stable place to sell," Tasha replied. "Stability costs us too." Marion looked at each of them. "Why would anyone pay early when there's an offer on the table?" "Because you promised not to sell if we met the conditions," Tasha said. "We have not met the repair condition. This would meet it." The neatness of the circle made Marion suspicious. Eli set down his pencil. "Only if enough people volunteer before your deadline." "And if they don't?" "Then you have your answer," Rosa said. Marion hated the sentence because it turned the company's 12 business days into a vote on whether people loved Ashby enough to pay for it. "No," she said. "We do not measure loyalty in advance rent." "What do we measure it in?" Tasha asked. "Attendance at a funeral? Number of years in a leaking stall? How many times someone tells you Walt was a good man?" Marion pushed back her chair. Tasha continued. "You keep protecting us from the cost, then resenting us for not paying it. That is not fair. No, it is not." Rosa reached across the table and turned the offer toward Marion. "Nobody wants you poor, Marion. Nobody wants you trapped here. But you cannot decide for all of us that leaving is kinder." The building made a low metallic sound as the air system shut off. In the east wing, the temporary plastic beneath the leak shifted. Marion had expected the vendors to beg her not to sell. She had prepared herself to resist tears, gratitude, and stories about Walt. Instead, they were asking to see the price and choose what they could bear. "I will show the offer to everyone Tuesday," she said. "And the bank terms," Tasha added, "and the roof options." "Yes. You will not accept prepaid money until the market votes on the operating plan." Marion frowned. "Votes?" "Advisory," Tasha said quickly. "Very advisory," Rosa smiled. "She likes democracy when she wins. I like information. You like control. I like accurate information under my control." That Tuesday, 30 people came to the meeting, including Janice and Lenny. They stood near the back together, visitors in the place where they had once known where every chair belonged. Lenny carried a box of peaches. "I didn't invite Fairview," Marion said. "We're not Fairview," Janice replied. "You rent there. We contain multitudes." Lenny set the peaches beside Rosa's food. These were going soft. "An inspiring contribution," Tasha said. Claire did not attend. Marion had told her about the meeting, then had not invited her. Claire understood the omission well enough not to ask. Marion distributed the offer, bank terms, repair estimates, and the current operating figures. "No speeches," she said. "Read first." Paper moved through the room. Calvin reached the final page of the offer and looked up. "That's real money." "Yes." Arthur frowned. "Not after the mortgage. It is still real." Howard asked whether the storage company would let the market lease back part of the building. Marion said no. Eli explained the roof options. Tasha described voluntary prepaid rent and the separate repair account. Then Marion told them the part she had not yet told anyone. If I stay, I cannot continue managing every day the way Walt and I did. The market has to pay somebody to carry operations, and that cost goes into the plan. The room reacted more strongly to that than to the sale. Rosa stared at her. You are leaving? I am refusing to die behind the office desk. That is different. It should not be surprising. Tasha's pen stopped. Marion looked around the room, at people who had come, because Walt once opened a door for them, because Marion remembered their debts without using them as weapons, because moving was costly, because the market was useful, because Fairview's lighting was ugly, because human motives did not remain pure under examination. I have spent years making this place depend on me, she said. If that is the only reason it survives, then I should take the offer. Nobody spoke. But if you want Ashby Market without requiring my life as part of the rent, she continued, then we have 11 business days to build that version. For the first minute, nobody built anything. They read the figures again. People whispered. Arthur used the repair estimate as a coaster until Tasha moved his cup. Then June Dalrymple raised her hand. What does somebody get for prepaying? Credit against future rent, Tasha said. I understand money. I mean assurance. Marion answered. If the operating target, repair funding, and management plan are in place by the deadline, I reject the offer and honor the agreements through June. And after June, we review the market based on actual numbers. June nodded. I can prepay 2 months. Rosa said 3. Eli said 1, then apologized as if having less cash were a character defect. It is voluntary, Marion reminded everyone. Howard offered 2 months. Calvin said he could manage 1 now and another after he sold the walnut set. Arthur asked whether records had resale value as collateral. No, 3 people told him. Lenny stood at the back with his arms folded. You still need produce. June turned around. I sell produce. You sell lettuce. And herbs. A market needs potatoes. Then perhaps potatoes should have stayed. The room made the pleased noise adults made when an argument belongs safely to someone else. Lenny rubbed the red patch above his collar. I'm not coming back. Fairview's been fair to me. Then why are you here? June asked. He looked toward Marion. Because Fairview gave me a place to sell, Ashby gave me a business. Marion kept her face still. Lenny offered to supply mixed produce orders at wholesale for the pickup program. June could add greens, Paul could continue onions and potatoes, and Ashby would earn its handling fee without carrying inventory. It was not the produce stall returning. It was smaller, less visible, and possibly more useful. Tasha wrote his proposal down. The vote did not decide the property. It did decide that nobody could later claim everyone had wanted the same thing. By the following afternoon, the folding table had become a command center. Tasha assigned a column to each condition. Operations, repair, management. Rosa added food in purple until Tasha crossed it out. Eli collected signatures and prepaid rent pledges. Marion met with vendors individually, explaining that the money would remain in a separate account until she rejected the offer. If the plan failed, every prepayment would be returned. You're making it easy for people to back out, Tasha said. I'm making it their money until I keep my side. That is inconveniently ethical. I have my moments. The roof bids were less ethical. One excluded interior water damage. Another excluded disposal fees. The emergency patch covered the main seam, but not the flashing over the east parapet where the storm water had entered. Eli discovered the omissions by reading the fine print upside down while Marion held the pages. So, 11.5 is not. 11.5, she said. It's 11.5 if you want half a dry building. How much for the seam and parapet? The contractor says he'll send a revision. Today, he said soon. Soon is where Walt kept every repair. She called the contractor twice. He responded after the third call with a revised price of $15,800. Their prepaid pledges stood at $9,400. The bank could finance the difference, but the monthly payment, manager's wages, and remaining operating gap still had to fit on the same page without Hope doing the arithmetic. Marion called Claire. I need you to compare 3 bids, she said. Claire paused. As your daughter or as free labor? As somebody who notices exclusions? That sounds like free labor with affection. Yes. What are the boundaries? The question embarrassed Marion with its reasonableness. You review the bids, you identify questions. You do not contact vendors, the storage company, or the bank. You may speak to contractors if I am present. Okay. And no spreadsheet with colors. I make no such promise. Claire arrived Friday morning carrying her laptop and 2 coffees. She waited outside the office until Marion unlocked it. You could come in, Marion said. I returned the key. I remember. Claire handed her a cup. 1 sugar. On Walt's desk, Claire aligned the 3 estimates, the roof photographs, and Eli's measurements. She asked Marion to describe where the water had entered, then walked the occupied section with Eli. She did not talk down to him. Eli did not make her prove herself twice, which was his version of respect. The least expensive contractor had not included permits or replacement of wet insulation. The most expensive included work on an unaffected rear slope. The middle bid covered what they needed, but charged for 2 lifts when one could reach both sections if the work was scheduled together. How do you know that? Marion asked. I read the equipment description. I read it. You read the price. That is the important part. It is one important part. They met the middle contractor at the market. Claire asked questions while Marion listened. Eli corrected the contractor's measurement near the parapet. The final revised bid was $14,200, with the 1-year guarantee extended to 2 if ash be paid for annual inspection. No miracle, no free roof. Just $1,600 removed from work they did not need. Thank you, Marion told Claire after the contractor left. You're welcome. Claire closed her laptop. Through the office glass, Tasha was showing June where new pickup shelves would go. So you're staying? Claire asked. I haven't decided. That looked like deciding. It looked like gathering facts. Claire smiled faintly. I know the line. Tasha entered without knocking. Good. Both bells. Claire's smile disappeared. I am not working against the market, she said. I know, Tasha replied. You corrected your emails. You heard? Howard told everybody. He enjoys forgiveness as long as there's an audience. Tasha placed a 2-page proposal on the desk. The market could not afford a full-time manager. It could afford 18 paid hours each week if pickup continued growing and the 2 empty stall sections were filled. Tasha proposed working Thursday afternoons, Fridays, and Saturdays for a 3-month trial. Vendors would rotate as floor captains during other open hours. Marion would handle ownership decisions and bookkeeping, but not daily disputes, event setup, or every malfunction that made noise. You already have a job, Marion said. I gave notice this morning. Both bells stared at her. Tasha lifted one shoulder. I have been waiting 6 years for a reason to leave. What do you do? Claire asked. Inventory management for a medical supply chain. Marion blinked. You told me you worked in purchasing. I did. Then logistics. Then inventory. You let me measure stalls with a broken tape. You seemed committed to the experience. Why didn't you say anything? You did not ask what I knew. You asked whether I could afford $130. Claire looked at Marion with a restraint so visible it was almost rude. Don't, Marion said. I didn't. Your face did. I have wrinkles. They aren't all about you. Tasha's laughter filled the office. The proposal paid less than Tasha earned at her job. She had planned to reduce her hours anyway and supplement the market work with online resale. Marion suspected there was more to the decision, but she did not force an explanation. You don't have to rescue me, Marion said. I am not rescuing you. I'm applying for a job. You wrote your own job description. The market has lacked one for 22 years. Claire read the proposal. What happens if pickup doesn't grow? The trial ends, Tasha said, or hours decrease. We review monthly. And if Marion keeps doing the work anyway, I invoice her. Traitor, Marion said. Employer. They made changes. Tasha would report to Marion on property and financial matters and to the vendor group on daily operations. Complaints would be recorded. No vendor, including Rosa, could settle a dispute by feeding everyone until they forgot it. Rosa objected to that clause and brought lunch. By Monday, pickup orders reached 31. Lenny's produce boxes accounted for 9. The market fee from one week remained small, but standing orders made the next week less uncertain. A bread seller took the second third of Lenny's former stall on Saturdays. The final section remained empty. 27 vendors signed through June. 14 pledged prepaid rent totaling $12,600. Marion needed to borrow enough to cover the rest of the roof work and preserve an operating cushion. Nancy Doyle proposed an $18,000 loan with payments the market could cover if the new rents, winter closure, and pickup projections held. If they don't, Nancy asked, then I have a building worth $640,000 and a lesson worth more than I wanted to pay. Nancy did not smile. Your home is not collateral, only the market property. I know. I'm saying it because spouses sometimes sign things the other spouse handled for years. My spouse no longer handles anything. The words came out harder than Nancy deserved. I'm sorry, Marion said. Nancy nodded. I know. Marion took the loan documents home unsigned. The storage offer expired in 4 business days. Claire stayed for dinner that evening. They ate on the back steps because the kitchen retained the day's heat. Walt's boots remained beside the door behind them. Marion had dusted around them twice. Claire held the loan terms on her knee. This plan can work, she said. Marion turned toward her. You believe that? I believe the assumptions are reasonable. That is almost enthusiasm. I don't want to alarm you. They listened to a lawnmower start 2 houses down. Claire folded the papers. I still think selling is safer. I know, but the market isn't worthless. Marion said nothing. Claire picked at a loose corner of the page. I shouldn't have called it that. You meant the business. I meant the way it took from you, from both of you, from me. That doesn't make it worthless. No. Marion looked at her daughter's profile, familiar and separate. Claire had Walt's straight nose and Marion's habit of pressing her lips together when she wanted a question answered. What do you want me to choose? Marion asked. Claire's fingers stilled. The truth, Marion said. Not what you think is good for me. Claire looked out at the yard. I want you to choose me sometimes. The answer was so small compared with $675,000 that it split Marion open. I don't know what that means now, she admitted. It means if the market survives, you still come to Columbus. You answer when I call. You don't treat every broken outlet like it outranks dinner. I can do that. You've said that before? Yes. Claire looked at her. Marion did not add a defense. After a moment, Claire handed back the loan papers. Then, don't prove the market can survive. Prove you can survive it. The next morning, Marion found all 3 Marys waiting at the dock before opening. Their orders were correctly labeled. Tasha had changed the pickup process without asking Marion, and it worked better. Marion went into the office, set the bank documents on Walt's desk, and looked at the 2 futures waiting beside them. One offered relief in 90 days. The other offered no guarantee beyond the people already arriving. For the first time, she understood that the choice was not between loving the market and loving Claire. It was between repeating the life Walt had left her and building one he had never learned how to live. Marion took the storage offer out of her purse and called Claire before she could make the decision feel private. I'm going to reject it, she said. Claire was quiet long enough for Marion to hear office sounds behind her. A printer, a distant phone, someone asking a question Claire did not answer. Have you signed the loan? Claire asked. Not yet. Did the prepaid commitments hold? Yes. Is Tasha accepting the job? She says she is. And the contractor's final price is fixed? 14.2, barring concealed damage. That is a phrase designed by contractors to ruin sleep. I know. Claire exhaled. Then you've done the work. That isn't the same as you agreeing. No, I wanted you to know first. Another pause. Why? Because I said I would choose you sometimes. I don't want to be chosen by receiving bad news before other people. Marion looked through the office glass. Tasha was rearranging pickup shelves. One of the Marys had arrived early again and was explaining to Eli that she was the Salsa Verde Mary, not the Honey Mary. I'm not staying to punish you, Marion said. I know. I'm not staying because Walt would have. I know that too. I'm staying because this version has a chance to support itself without consuming all of me. Claire's voice softened. I want to believe that. So do I. And if it starts consuming you, then you remind me once. Once? Per incident. That is not enough reminders. It is generous. Claire laughed under her breath. Okay. Okay what? Rejected. Marion had not expected permission, and the old irritation rose before she recognized what Claire was actually offering, not permission. Company. I'll call tonight, Marion said. You don't have to. I know. She signed the loan documents at 11. Nancy Doyle placed small yellow flags beside each signature line and made Marion initial the paragraph confirming that the market property, not her home, secured the loan. The payment would begin the following month. The funds would cover the roof work and leave a reserve for unexpected damage, which Nancy described as when, not if. You can still change your mind about the sale before you reject it, Nancy said. I know, you can also sell later if the business changes. I know that too. Nancy removed her glasses. You're not required to sound certain for me. That is inconvenient. It usually is. At noon, Marion emailed the storage company's representative. She thanked him for the offer and declined. He called 12 minutes later. If the issue is price, we have some flexibility, he said. It isn't the price. The inspection window can be shortened. It isn't the timing. What is the issue? Marion looked at the hand truck Eli had left beside the dock, the stacked food orders, and June's green onions standing in buckets where Lenny once built towers of tomatoes. The building is in use, she said. She ended the call before relief could disguise itself as regret. The vendor group gathered at 3. No speech had been planned, but Rosa had brought a sheet cake with staying, written in red icing, which made avoiding one impossible. Did you order that before I decided? Marion asked. I had them leave the center blank. There were other options. What options? Selling, thinking, closed due to stubbornness. Cake decorators charge by the letter. You are avoiding the emotional meaning. I am evaluating the budget. Tasha tapped a spoon against Walt's blue mug. The room quieted. Marion told them the offer had been declined and the loan signed. Applause began near the back. She raised one hand. This is not a rescue, she said. It is a year of obligations. The applause faded. 27 signed agreements, 14 prepaid commitments, a roof contract, a temporary operating group that will become a vendor council, a manager who has already moved shelves without approval. They were inefficient, Tasha said. You are employed beginning Monday, not retroactively. Then I moved them as a concerned citizen. A few people laughed. Marion continued. We review finances every month. We build a repair reserve before we spend on promotions, banners, musicians, or anything described as exciting. Nobody receives a private rent arrangement. If someone needs flexibility, it is written, dated, and visible in the account. Rosa folded her arms. Visible to who? The vendor council sees totals and terms, not private details that do not concern them. That is acceptable. I wasn't asking. Then why did you look at me? Habit. Marion assigned the mug to nobody. When she finished, she carried it back to the office and set it on the windowsill. People stayed for cake. Calvin came in holding his prepaid rent form, but no check. The walnut set still hasn't sold. You committed 1 month now and 1 later. I can do half now. Then change the form. I don't want it to look like I'm backing out. Are you backing out? No. Then it won't look like that. He stared at the paper. Walt would have covered the difference. Yes. I suppose you're going to make me say why that was bad. No, I'm going to make you write the amount you can pay. Calvin crossed out one number, wrote another, and initialed the change. Feels unfriendly, he said. It is clear. Same thing, according to nobody. He handed her the form. By closing, the repair account held $11,900 in prepaid rent. The loan would cover the rest. No one cheered when Marion deposited the checks because she refused to turn private risk into a public contest. The roof work began on a Monday morning. A lift blocked the loading dock. Tarps covered the pickup shelves. The contractor removed wet material from above Calvin's stall and found less damage than feared, which was the closest the week came to good news without a bill attached. Marion stood below the east parapet until the foreman asked whether she planned to supervise from the floor. Yes. You can't see the roof from there. I can see whether you leave. Tasha took Marion by the shoulders and turned her toward the office. Bookkeeping, she said. I own the building, and I manage operations. Roof work is building. Standing under it is loitering. Tasha's first week exposed how many of Marion's tasks had never been named. She settled a dispute over refrigerator space, called a plumber, corrected a vendor's insurance certificate, checked pickup orders, replaced register tape, and stopped Arthur from plugging 4 extension cords into one another. At the end of Saturday, she put a handwritten invoice on Marion's desk. Interference with floor manager, 2.5 hours. You cannot bill me for speaking, Marion said. I can document it. I answered questions. You answered questions addressed to me. I knew the answers. That is not the issue. Marion tore the invoice in half. Tasha placed another copy beside the mug. On Tuesday, Claire came to the vendor meeting. She waited near the entrance until Marion nodded her inside. She had brought no laptop, no folders, and no coffee sweetened on anyone else's behalf. Howard sat in the front row. Marcy sat beside him with her unsigned agreement in her lap. Claire stood where Marion had stood during the first meeting. I contacted Howard and Marcy after my father died, because I believed the market would be sold, she said. I used information I had access to through my mother. She did not authorize me. I thought I was protecting people from making bad investments, but I was making the decline I expected more likely. Howard looked at his shoes. Claire's hands tightened once, then relaxed. I corrected what I said privately. I wanted to correct it here, too. I'm sorry. No one applauded. Marion was grateful. Marcy raised her hand. Do you still think the market will fail? Claire looked at Marion, then at the roof estimate posted on the wall. I think it can fail, she said. I also think the new plan is credible. Those are both true. Marcy nodded. After the meeting, she signed through June. I'm not doing it because of Claire, she told Marion. I didn't ask. I'm doing it because the roof is being repaired, and Tasha is terrifying. Those are strong foundations. Claire waited outside while Marion locked the office. On the way to the parking lot, she glanced at Walt's chair. People sit there now. Yes. You don't mind? Sometimes. Claire slipped her hands into her coat pockets. I kept the flannel shirt. I know. How? You didn't bring it back. That's not knowing. That's deduction. I raised you. Most knowing is deduction. They ate dinner at a diner near the highway. Claire did not ask Marion to move to Columbus. Marion did not discuss vendor numbers until Claire asked. They spoke about Claire's work, her leaking bathroom faucet, and a neighbor who practiced trumpet badly at night. It was the first meal in years that the market did not interrupt. Marion noticed because she checked her phone beneath the table twice. Tasha noticed that too. The next morning, she told Marion to leave her phone in her purse during meals. You were not at the meal, Marion said. Claire told me. You two are discussing me. We have formed a support group. I will fire you. Then you'll have to answer Rosa's calls. Marion put the phone in her purse. The patched roof held through 2 heavy rains. Pickup reached 40 orders, then dropped to 28, then steadied in the low 30s. The bread cellar expanded to 2 days. June's 6-week trial became a lease through June. The final third of Lenny's old space went to a man who repaired small appliances and insisted a toaster could be both useful and beautiful. The market closed the east wing before the first cold snap. Calvin moved his furniture beside the old produce area. Arthur complained about steam near his records, then admitted the front windows improved sales. The first monthly review showed a surplus of $183. Rosa wanted to frame it. It is not a surplus, Marion said. It is less than 1 roof inspection. It is more than 0. That is mathematically true. It is emotionally true. The second month produced a loss of $97 after the loading door required new rollers. Tasha recorded it without apology. Marion paid nothing from her personal account. That absence felt stranger than the loss. One Thursday afternoon, Claire called and invited Marion to dinner in Columbus the following Saturday. We have Market, Marion said. You have Tasha. I own Market. You own a car too. You don't drive it every minute. Marion looked through the office glass. Tasha was training Rosa to use the pickup register. Eli was attaching a new sign above the dock. The sign read, Orders, not exciting pickup opportunity. What time? Marion asked. 6. I'll leave at 3:30. On Saturday at 3:24, the loading door jammed. Eli pulled the chain. The door rose 6 inches and stopped with a grinding metallic cough. Marion put down her purse. Tasha pointed to it. Pick that up. The door is stuck. I have eyes. Pickup ends at 1, but Paul is coming for crates. We have the side entrance. The weather report says rain. We have tarps. Eli needs someone to... I need nobody, Eli said from beneath the motor housing. You are not standing under that, Marion told him. I'm beside it. You were thinking about standing under it. Tasha took Marion's coat from the office hook and held it open. At 3:31, Marion's phone rang. Claire. The old answer rose automatically. Something happened at the market. Marion looked at the jammed door, the gray sky, and Eli's toolbox open on the concrete. Nothing was fixed. Nothing was guaranteed. The building was still capable of summoning her with every loose chain and dark cloud. Tasha held out the coat. Marion put it on. She answered the phone as she walked toward the front entrance. "I'm leaving now," she said. The rain reached Ashby before Marion reached the interstate. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel each time it struck the windshield. She pictured water blowing beneath the raised loading door, soaking pickup shelves, Calvin's furniture, and whatever Eli had decided could be repaired while standing under it. At the first red light, she checked her phone. No calls. At the second, she put the phone in her purse and pushed it onto the passenger side floor where she could not reach it without stopping. Claire had chosen a quiet Italian restaurant near her house. She was waiting at a table for two when Marion arrived 12 minutes late. "You came?" Claire said. "I said I was coming. You say many things with operational exceptions." The loading door jammed. Claire's eyes flicked toward Marion's purse. "Did you fix it?" "No." "Did somebody?" "I assume. You don't know?" Marion sat and opened the menu. "I have been driving," Claire smiled. "Are you having a medical event?" "I may," they ordered. Marion told Claire about the appliance repairman who had taken the final section of Lenny's stall and wanted to hang a neon sign shaped like a toaster. Claire described an argument at work involving an invoice, 3 departments, and a copier nobody would admit ordering. The food arrived. Neither of their phones was on the table. During dessert, Marion excused herself and checked her purse in the restroom. One message waited from Tasha. Door closed. Crates dry. Eli alive despite himself. Do not call. Marion read it twice. Then she returned to the table without calling. The loading door had new rollers by the following weekend. Tasha selected the contractor, approved the repair within her spending limit, and entered the expense in the monthly report. Marion learned about the final cost at Monday's review, like everyone else. "I would have called the same company," she said. "That must be comforting for you," Tasha replied. The first frost silvered the market roof in November. Marion arrived at 6 and discovered Tasha had already unlocked the doors. "You are early," Marion said. "You are unnecessary. That is not the greeting in your employee handbook. There is no employee handbook. Write one." "I did." "You objected to the section about interference." The closed east wing remained dark behind temporary partitions Eli built from painted plywood. Calvin complained for a week about his smaller space, then sold more furniture because customers could finally walk around it. Arthur moved near the front windows and began setting aside records for people who placed requests through the pickup list. He never admitted that this was pickup. He called it advanced curation. The market's first hard winter month ended $312 short after a heater repair. Marion opened the old habit in her mind as easily as a desk drawer. Transfer the money, avoid the discussion, promise herself to replace it later. Instead, she presented the loss to the vendor council. They delayed painting the front hallway, reduced one advertising expense, and used the operating reserve for the rest. Nobody offered Marion sympathy. Nobody expected her checking account to solve it. The next month produced a modest surplus. The prepaid rents began receiving their scheduled credits in January. Cash tightened exactly as Tasha had warned it would. Pickup fees, 2 newly occupied stalls, and lower East Wing heating costs carried most of the gap. The market missed its projection by $86. Rosa placed $86 bills on the folding table. "What is that?" Marion asked. "A joke. It is a bad joke. Then give it back." Marion did. Rosa picked up the money and used it to replace a failing warmer at her stall. The following week, she increased her standing restaurant orders. Not everything worked. A weekly flower seller lasted 1 month and left after complaining that customers touched too many arrangements. Howard Nash decided not to buy his display cases after all. Paul delivered the wrong variety of potato to 3 restaurants and insisted a potato was a potato, until Rosa made him taste both. Janice did not return from Fairview. Lenny did every Friday afternoon to unload produce boxes for Saturday pickup. He parked outside and claimed he was too busy to come in, then drank coffee with Eli for 40 minutes. One afternoon, Marion found him looking at June's stall. Her lettuce display had expanded into the second table. A chalkboard listed salad greens, herbs, and green onions. The lettering was bright yellow because Marion had finally won the argument about color. "She's doing all right," Lenny said. "She is. Not enough potatoes. She has no desire to be you. I didn't say she did. You stood here judging lettuce. I was looking at lettuce. Lenny shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. Fairview's fine. I'm glad. Parking's good. You mentioned? Roof doesn't leak. Neither does this part. They both looked toward the closed east wing, where a bucket remained beneath an old seam they had not repaired. Lenny smiled. Mostly. He never asked for his stall back. Marian never asked him to return. Their friendship survived the fact that his business had needed to leave hers. Claire began visiting one Sunday each month. She did not use her house key unless Marian knew she was coming. She did not move medicine, boots, or paperwork into locations she considered more logical. Once, she straightened Walt's boots beside the kitchen door, caught Marian watching, and nudged the left one crooked again. In return, Marian drove to Columbus. She arrived when she said she would. The first time traffic made her late, she called before Claire had to wonder whether an outlet, freezer, or stranger's emergency had replaced her. They did not repair every old injury by naming it. Some memories remained sharp no matter how carefully they handled them. Claire still hated the market when she remembered carrying boxes out of her duplex without her parents. Marian still resented the way Claire had turned fear into private emails and a buyer waiting in the wings. But resentment no longer had to perform all the work of love. In March, Claire attended a pickup morning. She stood beside the dock while Tasha checked names and Rosa corrected everyone's method. Paul brought onions. Lenny delivered produce boxes. June added greens. The bread seller stacked loaves on the new shelves. The appliance repairman carried out a toaster for a customer who had expected to throw it away. Claire watched money pass through the register before goods left the building. "This is different," she said. Marian was reviewing invoices at the end of the counter. From what? Before. Specific. Claire glanced toward Rosa, who was explaining to a restaurant manager that his order had been labeled correctly, and he had taken the wrong bag with confidence. Dad used to act like everybody here would collapse if he went to lunch. He enjoyed being essential. So did you. Marian capped her pen. Yes. Tasha doesn't seem to need either of you. Tasha does not need oxygen if oxygen asks first. Claire laughed. Near noon, one of the Marys arrived for a standing order. Tasha handed her the correct salsa without discussion. Claire looked impressed. Which Mary? Verde. That means nothing to me. It means she is not honey. Marian showed Claire the latest monthly report. The market had covered expenses, the loan payment, Tasha's wages, and a small repair contribution. Marian had taken a modest owner's draw for the first time since Walt died. It would not quickly replace the $24,000 he had removed from retirement. The roof beyond the occupied aisles still needed serious work. One slow season could erase several good months. Claire read the page twice. You're paying yourself? A little? That should have been in the plan from the beginning. It was. No, you put it in February. The beginning is a flexible concept. Claire pointed to the figure. Increase it next year. You have become strangely supportive of taking money from the market. I'm supportive of the market paying for what it uses. Marian heard Tasha's language in the sentence. You two are still discussing me. We have membership cards. The anniversary of Walt's death arrived on a Saturday. Marian woke before the alarm and lay still in the dark. For a year, grief had announced itself through absences. The quiet radio, the untouched shirts, the money he had moved, the promises he could no longer finish. That morning, it arrived as memory without instruction. She dressed and drove to the market. At 6:17, Rosa backed her van toward the loading dock. Marian stood beside the entrance and watched. Do not say anything, Rosa called through the open window. You have 6 feet. I have mirrors. You had mirrors last year. I did not hit the wreath. There is no wreath today. Then we are completely safe. Behind her came Paul's truck, then Lenny's produce van, then June with greens packed in reusable crates. Tasha's station wagon turned in with a brass lamp protruding from the rear window. Vendors still came, not because Marian had lowered every rent, not because Walt's favors had made leaving impossible. They came with signed agreements, prepaid orders, repair contributions, complaints, choices, and keys that belonged to work they helped sustain. Inside, Walt's blue mug remained on the office windowsill. Marian washed it, dried it, and poured coffee into it for the first time since his death. She took one sip. It was terrible. Tasha had made the pot too strong. Don't blame the dead man, Tasha said from behind her. I was blaming you. Then your judgment is improving. Claire arrived at 8 with coffee from Marion's preferred shop. 1 sugar, she said. Marion set Walt's mug beside the sink and took hers. There was no memorial announcement, no speech. Rosa placed a small bowl of peppermints beside the register. Eli found one, unwrapped it, and left the paper in his pocket after Marion looked at him. Customers filled the occupied aisles. 31 of the 43 stalls were open. The repaired section of roof held beneath a morning shower. Beyond the temporary partition, a bucket waited in the closed wing, but nobody pretended the entire building had been saved at once. Calvin sold the walnut dining set shortly after noon. The buyer paid his full asking price. Calvin carried the sold tag into the office and put it on Marion's desk. No sympathy discount. Did you tell them the roof story? Story is value. You owe me $600 in materials. You paid for damage to my property, I know. I wanted to see whether honesty remained the rule. It's a flexible concept. At 4:30, Tasha announced closing procedures. Marion remained in the office reviewing the day's receipts until a sharp argument rose near the kitchen. Rosa and the bread seller were disputing refrigerator space for the following week's pickup. Rosa appeared in the doorway. Marion, tell him prepared food has priority. Once, Marion would have gone. She would have listened, rearranged shelves, offended one person carefully, and arrived late wherever else she had promised to be. She closed the ledger. Tasha handles floor operations. Tasha is taking his side. Then perhaps his side has merit. Rosa gasped. On this day? Especially on this day. Marion put the ledger in the drawer and took her coat from the hook. Claire waited near the front entrance. They had dinner reservations for 6, halfway between Ashby and Columbus. No packing boxes, no crisis, no reason the meal had to matter, except that they had agreed to it. Marion picked up Walt's blue mug. You're taking it home? Claire asked. Yes. What about his chair? A customer waiting for an appliance repair sat in it, reading a newspaper. Leave it, Marion said. Somebody needs it. They stepped outside together. Behind them, Rosa continued arguing. Tasha answered. Eli lowered the repaired loading door with a smooth metal hum. Marion heard it reach the concrete without a bang. She did not turn around.